and welcome to another exciting episode of Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNeed on Twitter, CBCaps on Instagram. And with me tonight, as always, the man, the mellow, the smooth fella, my man in Brooklyn, Agent_70.
What's up, everybody?
That's weird. I should have found that. Anyway, this is another exciting episode, folks. It's a jam-packed one too. But before we get into it, not with us tonight, PCN_Dirt, and on that on Twitter, Pop Culture Network on Twitter, and of course popculturenetwork.com and all of the umbrella sites on there. And the Osiris that is Ish, Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, The Click Nation on Twitter, that's DKLIQNATION, theclicknation.com, and of course Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing the face off. You can find this here podcast on the network of greatness, CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this podcast on Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. Yes. I knew that was going to happen. Folks, we are going to get in some comics. It's been a good week for comics, I would say. I dare say. Would you dare say?
Works for me.
Okay, well then. Roaring. The first book we're going to get started off with is House of 10.
Ah!
House of X, number 3. I'm going to do that joke for a couple of different times, so you're just going to bear with me for the next couple of weeks.
I was about to say, I think this is going to be we're I think not quite halfway yet, so it's still
pretty much halfway. Yeah. Because there's 6.
Oh, this is the 6th. Yeah, this is the 6th to 12. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're halfway there.
So, and this was actually a decent one for what happened. Well, I guess I've seen the buzz on the Twitters about the big, I guess the quote unquote big thing that happened was a certain mutant walking into a spot like a boss, as only she can do. Or as only she has done, I should say. But outside of that, we don't get much Mara X outside of the text pages.
Right. This
issue.
Yeah, this is the wheels start turning issue.
Right.
Where I guess the first 5, not quite every issue up until now, but essentially the previous issues all served as setup, and now we are seeing the wheels move. So,
well, yeah, although in this particular one, there was, in the midst of the setup, the wheels kind of started turning there, because this is pretty much taking up a little ways past something that happened in the first issue.
Right.
So this is kind of a continuation, or actually that could, as you said, could be the continuation of the setup. Now that I think about it, because that could have been just a thing that happened to serve this, to kind of establish that, which that was already being established in that first issue. In that, Krakoa is getting his own statehood, basically, and in the famous words of Lethal Weapon, diplomatic immunity.
Oh no.
I should say Lethal Weapon 2, but yeah.
Yeah, that was Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah.
One thing, and I think it came up in your notes, is that the premise of the mission that the X-Men are on is nothing new.
Right.
For the X-Men, and harkens back to several deep space missions that the X-Men have gone on in near space, not far space. When I say far space, I'm talking like Shi'ar space.
Right.
In
Actually,
relative,
and this is not even that. This is basically near the sun. So
right,
yeah.
it's relatively near space. So a lot of the X-Men missions that have gone awry that we all know of that are famously part of X-Men canon were in near space. So it may not bode well for the outcome of this mission.
Or at the very least, well, there's already been a change to it, but because given a particular mission in question, something happened on the way back, and during the appearance of this right now, it doesn't seem it's going to go that same way. Well, wait, that's not sure either. Maybe
we shall see. Yeah, that's why that's exactly what
you can't really rule out a similar thing happening in the mission and a similar getaway if they can manage that.
Right. Like I said, there's definitely some parallels here. So let's not discount anything similar happening, or at least in the similar vein. So, I saw that in your notes. I figured that's where you were going. You have any other thoughts on that? Any other thoughts on the book in general?
I mean, outside of that, like the thing that happened with the diplomatic community, that was kind of the big thing that's been kind of going around. There's really not much else to say because it was only like that one part, and then basically the mission, and wherever it goes from there, we'll see next issue.
Right. Okay. So, all right. Yeah, there wasn't as much. Right, there wasn't as much like kind of deep thoughts. I hate to use the Saturday Night Live skit. Deep thoughts. But yeah,
Andy. Yes.
This particular issue wasn't of that ilk. It was more getting the mission going and the setup for the current day story.
Right. I think. Oh, well, there is the one other thing, but it's a very minor thing in that the X-Men who went on the mission now know of the involvement of, I guess, a former ally. I don't know what to call her. Which we knew that person was around. Even in the, I guess, even in the Powers of X timeline, but the X-Men now know in the quote unquote current time. So we don't know. That's the other thing. We don't know what the time frame of this is. If it, or is this just out there in its own little thing? Because that's something that kind of I thought about with another book comment that I read this week, or a couple of books I read this week, with one in particular.
I got a kick out of who they picked to be on this mission too. So
right,
it was pretty interesting.
And I mean, it kind of made sense, or at least the one that got a little bit of that saw a little bit of action in this one.
Sure.
So yeah, like it was a somewhat argue a heavy hitting crew in respects, but I guess for that mission they would have needed some solid firepower. So hey, sure. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for House of X, because it's just what it is.
Right, and we do get a nice cliffhanger page ending, so we shall see what happens in the next what's in the next. So we get a run of House of X. So we have a House of X number 4 is out next week. So we don't see another Powers of X for 2 weeks. So we will see more likely than not an immediate follow up to this.
Wait, are you sure? Or
I'm looking at the reading order.
But that's what I'm saying. That could be the reading order, not necessarily the order that the book's coming out in.
But the release dates are right next to them.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Right. There's a reason why I think I brought it up maybe 2 shows ago about how they've been good so far about keeping to this release schedule, and we basically commented that it's likely that they had the majority of these books in the can already.
Yeah, we established that. Yeah.
Right. So that they were able to stick to this this release schedule of pretty much every week. Not necessarily every other week because of the reading order.
Right. I don't know. It still seems kind of weird that that's the case, but I mean, it makes sense for that. But because usually it was like, well, okay, she's gonna just back a book like that without reason. Or I mean, obviously in this reason there is a reason, but
Right.
that doesn't normally happen with similar events. As we have just seen in War of the Realms, like stuff was all kind of out of order in certain spots. So, but anyway, cool.
Oh, Doomsday Clock.
Well, that's a whole different other thing.
Anyway,
so yeah, that's it for House of X. Let me look at what you read.
What's next?
Get a chance to do that. Oh, you didn't happen to read that Fantastic Four?
I did read it. I didn't write up any notes, but I did read that the Yancey Street one shot.
Yeah, we could do that real quick. I mean, there was realistically could have been a quick, a quick hit, but I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting about this. I mean, we're talking about Fantastic Four for Yancey Street #1. That's the number 4 Fantastic Four. Yancey Street #1. So I was expecting to be kind of like, I dare I say, a Tales from the Hood, not necessarily the movie type situation. Like basically more goings on in the neighborhood, more than this seems like a thing story, a thing centered story, but just the rest of the Fantastic Four just happen to pop in on a panel or two, at times.
It kind of is things going on in the neighborhood, no pun intended, because it actually deals with some of the real life ramifications of a superhero group moving into your neighborhood.
Well, yeah, but that's a big thing. I'm talking about like just like little series of little things going on in the neighborhood, not necessarily like say, hey, here's Lunella over here doing some stuff, and then maybe the Yancey Street Gangs doing a thing, and they happen to run into the thing, something like that kind of stuff. Not
more like
we're talking about
more like a day in the life.
Yeah, basically.
I understand. This is actually this is a version of a day in the life story because it all starts with of all things, what happens when a superhero group moves into your neighborhood and what happens to the rents and what happens to the neighborhood tough guys, because they actually have a line in here about how they artificially inflated the crime statistics to keep the rents low. Right. And I kind of got a kick out of that because that's so thinking outside the box when it comes to property values.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, that's an interesting way to go about things. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if anybody could actually ever, do that in real life, obviously, but that's for the case of this. I'm like, okay, that makes, because you don't really hear that. That's the thing, you don't really hear about that much. Well, I mean, obviously, it's a world where things happen where they happen. You don't really hear about too much crime on Yancey Street. You just know about the gangs that's there from whatever, or whoever else might be there. But yeah, that's weird. But yeah, so from that. But first, actually, should actually mention though, it starts off with, in my notes I said there's the kind of that's what kind of felt like a Spidey-like story, because it kind of starts off with a little bit of, not necessarily a backstory, but a little bit about Ben Grimm's childhood,
right?
And then it comes into the present day with I guess the, not necessarily the backup show, but the crux of what started the story off, the main story off, with a certain wall from a center that was dedicated to someone close to Ben.
Sure.
And that kind of started off this whole thing, which the funny part about it was like, okay, Ben saw this thing and was like, and his first thought was, let me go back in time and wrap up the person who did this so I could talk to him, which, yeah, that's a way to go. I was like, but I'm like, why does it have to be time travel? Why was that the first thing you thought?
It is the Fantastic Four.
Well, I mean, true, but yeah. Oh, well, yeah, and that's something else that we'll get to at the end of this issue. But so that pretty much leads, and he goes to Reed to give it to basically send him back in time, and Reed was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that, but let me just give you this thing looks like Pokemon Go or something, and you can find out what you need to find out from the paint. So he does that, finds the person. There's a Mary Chase, sort of, and find out what what was going on in the neighborhood, and then Benz ends up with a kerfuffle, with a little scuffle with I guess this is a pull. This is a pull because I don't remember. I haven't seen these folks, or at least one in particular, in a good minute. That I think. Because at first I was like, I don't know these people, but then the one person who was fighting them straight on seems familiar.
It's a deep cut. It's a deep cut. I didn't have a chance to take a look, in the either via Wikipedia or via the Handbook of the Marvel Universe to see.
Yeah.
By the way, side note, I actually pulled out my copy of the official Handbook of the Marvel Universe Deluxe Edition, and what we thought was a modern retcon of Rocket Raccoon's origin was not from last week. So that's why I thought it came to me just now.
What you talking about, the support animal thing?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Interesting.
Yes, very much so. So in any event, going back to this issue, the was it the Terrible Trio?
Yeah.
Right. So the Terrible Trio that Roddykat is referencing in this, I presume, are very deep cut in Marvel Universe history, and these are the quote unquote villains that are hired to harass the residents of Yancey Street into vacating their apartments so that the landlords can raise the rent.
Justification.
And it's a super powered scheme that doesn't sound so far. It's not so far fetched.
No. In fact, it's not necessarily a similar one, but there is a situation that I know of from someone not that far from you. It's like kind of there's some evil landlordships going on.
It happens
more
than anyone knows.
Yeah, so which is terrible. But like I said, fortunately and unfortunately, it gets righted here by again some use of Fantastic Four tech, which still I'm like, how does that work? Well, I mean, we know how it works with them, and I guess it's going to work the same way. But at the same time, like that doesn't, because my first thing was like, okay, clearly Ben's going to buy the neighbors out, so he could be the landlord. Because that just seems like the logical thing. Then, and granted, we saw this and saw that a similar thing happen in Hawkeye, the first one of Hawkeye. But apparently that was not the thing. Like, no,
they come up with a solution that doesn't seem as obvious as that.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what's like. It's a way to go, but it seemed like that was an easy way to do that. But I guess somebody may have brought that up and was like, no, we want to do this a different way.
Yeah, more that's likely.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's Fantastic Four. It's all right.
And there's a twist at the end.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. Yeah, apparently there was a seeing eye that was getting their jollies off from what was going on, or at least what happened at the end. So, which I thought was kind of funny. I was like, you wouldn't think that. Actually, now that I think about it, given what happened recently in the Fantastic Four,
right.
You would think that person would have gotten would have gone slightly a bit grander than that, but
it's real petty.
Yeah,
real petty,
and also not original because like it was basically something which also didn't seem like something this person would do, because it was like, okay, clearly that's the thing that people way closer to Ben Grimm has been doing to him like way long time ago, and the fact that this person picked up on it and did it was kind of amusing. But anyway, next up, Doctor Strange number 18. I enjoyed this.
It was a nice done in one story.
Yeah. Well, unless it's something from it ends up coming up in the next couple of issues, which I don't know. I kind of the only thing that kind of struck me. So basically, we just basically start out quote unquote mid mission where you see this family whom I thought was a familiar family to us, but it apparently is not, and his name is similar to a person that was close to Stephen at one point in time recently. But anyway, so we see this family getting set up for a birthday celebration or something, or not this birthday celebration, but some kind of celebration. And then in comes Doctor Strange, just being all like, "Excuse me, I got to do what I got to do. So get out of my way. Let me do what I got to do."
Right.
So sitting here like, well, this is Doctor Strange going back to old Doctor Strange. Has he not learned anything? And then most of the issue is just him doing that, and they ask him a question, and he gets incredulous.
It was very much, and just as a quick note, I wanted to say that it was nice to see Jesus Saiz's art back on the book.
Yeah,
it was very refreshing to see the artwork that had launched this book come back and do a full story. What was great about this is that it's this is a day in the life type story that gets completely turned on its head in Minot-town, Kansas.
No. I think that he was just referencing that wouldn't happen in that place because I think I'm guessing that person was from there, and he's just saying, hey, that kind of stuff doesn't happen. And then Strange was like, hey, you'd be surprised.
Right, but my point is, it's in of all places, Minot-town, Kansas.
Is that a real place?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, you just bringing it up as
I'm literally reading it off the first page of the book. I was like, hey, why are we in Minot-town, Kansas, of all places? If that's a real
he does explain that though,
right?
He was like, yeah, ley lines, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Things happen anywhere, so that just happens to be a place. Which actually brings me to a note I have, and I basically say that hey, there's a kind of a Ghostbusters, like the first part of the beginning. So of Ghostbusters vibe in this, where they just kind of go into the lab and be like, "Hey, we're professionals,"
Exactly. No, I definitely get that.
So that was kind of fun. And the only other thing that was kind of weird about it was like, okay, well, the particular quote unquote baddie that Strange is looking for, he ends up finding. But the weird part about it is, it's an aquatic demon that first comes out of the TV. And that part was like, well, wait, the rest of the time is coming out of like water stuff. But the first thing it comes out of is the TV that the Strange Rex.
I think that's where he conjured him from. That's where he summoned him through. That part, I agree, doesn't make the most sense.
Yeah, like, okay.
TVs are like portals. You know what I mean? TVs are like portals. But I think
true. Yeah. I'm like, hey, if Persona has taught us anything.
Right. I think that's, at the end of the day, just a visual cue. But as you mentioned, everywhere they actually find this magical demon or creature is water-based. And I think your notes mention about how the owner of the home, the father of the family, comes into play because of his vocational background.
Right. Yeah, that was also kind of a funny part. It was like, yeah, he was trying to tell Steven something, and Steven's like, huh? Okay. And then just happens to conjure up something that wasn't exactly what he was looking for. It worked. Coincidentally. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, I enjoyed this issue for all of that. And then, with all the wrecking that Steven did throughout this house, he makes it better, which I was kind of hoping for, because all through reading this, I'm like, clearly he's gonna clean all this up before he leaves. And then when he was leaving and they were getting upset about it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, who's gonna do it? It's gonna be poop. There you go, he did it. So.
My favorite part is, is related to the ending, and what I noted is that it basically epitomizes Doctor Strange as he's perceived by the majority of the Marvel universe, in that people will interact with him and say, "Who knew Doctor Strange was such a jerk?"
Right.
And the wife says, I imagine sometimes he is, but maybe not always. And they see that things have been made right by Doctor Strange as he left the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perceived notions, but at the same time, he was pretty much being a jerk up until up until that. So, and at least he didn't, because normally, some situation like that would happen, and just like they kind of mentioned before that, like, hey, superheroes come in, mess up stuff, or at least that was an illusion anyway. Superheroes come in, mess up stuff, and then just leave, and without any account to what they leave behind. And I think they even got brought up in Doctor Strange previously, probably if not in this volume, a previous one.
Mm-hmm.
So who knew? He must have learned from that to a point. So cool. But yeah, that was fun. Doctor Strange number 18. Next up, what you want to go into?
There really weren't too many books that I read this week that had a lot of meat to them. One of them that I'll talk about, though, in a little bit of depth is Thor number 16.
Yes, I'm good.
Do you have that on your list?
I did.
All right. Oh, there it is, right in the middle. So I thought this was a great wrap-up. It's not a complete wrap-up, but it's a good wrap-up to the ongoing stories in Thor by Jason Aaron and Mike Del Mundo. The King Thor miniseries is going to wrap its own saga in the King Thor miniseries. So that's another story, and that's going to continue the weekly or the monthly Thor dose for fans until they figure out who's going to be picking up the baton. Right. At some point they will. It may not be right away. So
you have more faith than I do, sir.
Why is that? It's Thor. Because they've given the character breaks before, which is why I agree with you that they may not pick it up right away, but it is one of the ongoing characters that is, that's still a cinematic Avenger. So
yeah, that means less at this point.
I disagree, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's all part of their publishing plan, depending on what they want to put out. So
yeah, and I think I'm just going to say that it may be your affinity for Thor more than that would why you would think that. And I'm not saying you're not right, because yeah, somebody's probably going to pick it up at some point. I think it's going to be a longer time than you may be thinking. But that being said, yeah, the this was definitely a good end to this series, to this particular series, because you basically get the epilogue. You might as well say you pretty much get the epilogue you probably should have gotten at the immediate end of War of the Realms. But at the same time, I understand why that wasn't the case. And plus, there was a few more things to kind of clean up.
There's still aftermath. Yeah, right. There's still aftermath going on after War of the Realms. Everything
especially with Thor and
everything from Valkyrie to the Punisher Kill Crew series as well, dealing with the and that even came up in Friendly Neighborhood, if I'm not mistaken.
I was gonna mention that
this week. So but with regards to this issue, a lot of it is putting things in a good place for the next person to pick up, which is why I was talking about how there is the sense that they can set up, that Aaron is setting it up for someone else to take over, I think sooner rather than later. And also the sense that he is putting the toys back in the sandbox as he found them. Because one of the deaths that I found particularly jarring as a longtime fan of Thor was Undone, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, I thought about you when that happened, which is I still goes back to what I said about your affinity for Thor, and because I saw that I was like, okay, yeah, he just basically cleaning shop up here.
Basically putting everything back the way they found it. To a certain extent, obviously there are bigger changes in the status quo that are going to keep going, such as King Thor 1, such as Jane Foster Valkyrie 2,
which it should be noted, and not that it plays any kind of part in this, I wasn't really sure why they brought this up, but I understand. Well, I do understand it. Yeah, I do understand it, because that would have been questioned. So this issue takes place before Jane Foster's Valkyrie, which that's the way they have it in the book. Number 1.
Or right before, yeah.
Right, yeah. So that is the thing. No, she does show up here. Although, do you see her on? So let's go to the one thing. Mike Del Mundo did the cover, and it's a wraparound cover, from what I can see, and it's basically. It's not necessarily a family portrait, but it's definitely a kind of a Thor, kind of a family portrait thing. Like it's like Thor, his family, the extended family, quote unquote. A couple other Thor, a couple other folks. I think Jane Foster is not on the cover.
I don't think so. Oh no, she is.
She is? Where?
It's right behind Odin. On the front.
Well, while I look that up,
yeah, that's her. That's the new costume. That's the character's new look.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't see that. Because for some reason I thought that was somebody else.
Who?
I don't know.
I was about to say it's not Sif.
No, because
Sif on the back cover.
Right. Yeah,
she's on the back cover.
So so the only person who's not there is Beta Ray Bill.
That's true.
Because I had noted in my notes that was like, well, Jane Foster's not there and Beta Ray Bill's not there, even though he shows up in the book. So, but that is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
That's true, and they also don't spoil everything in this issue because they only have Tooth Gnasher on the cover. So
right, true.
And I always get a kick out of the way Del Mundo draws the goats. Like every time he draws the goats, it looks like they have a sneer on their face.
Right, and the one on the cover looks like he's got a cigarette or something in his mouth.
Exactly. So it's always very expressive.
Yeah. So and of course the young and old the young and old Thors are there, and blah 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 in the cover. But it's a great cover. Like even Roz from I guess she's an agent of I guess former Shield agent Roz, whatever her name is.
Right, Roz Solomon.
Yeah. So Throg's on there, which it's always cool. But like I said, no Beta Ray Bill. So is there someone behind the destroyer, or am I just seeing things? Because that looks like a giant pair of legs.
It is. It's the giantess that's in the League of the Realms. The League of Realms, I mean. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Because I was like, what is that? Why are they just showing a pair of legs? What is what is going on there? But anyway, the cover's great, and the insides are just good with the art. Thor has a nice little touching moment, which I got a kick out of, because we usually see Thor in kind of a state, and now he's like, aw.
He's in the one scene with Beta Ray Bill.
Yes, exactly. And Throg. So yeah, but like I said, this was a definite potential click of the week for me in this, and I'm not a normal Thor reader, but last couple of issues just kind of wrapping up this storyline. I mean, this series and War of the Realm kind of like, check it out. And from that, wouldst thou liketh to go? I guess we'll hit like one or two more books, and then we'll go hit the rapidities, because that didn't sound right.
Yes, I was about to say
language.
I wasn't going to call it that much attention to it.
I heard.
I know. Well, I'm sure somebody else would have too. Avengers number 23.
All right. This is kind of a quick reading issue.
Yeah.
Essentially, the exorcism of Robbie Reyes has gone horribly wrong, and now we know why. There's lots of Ghost Rider mayhem here that involve many Ghost Riders. Right. That's right.
Yeah, and I think I want to say I mentioned like probably a couple episodes back where there was a couple of Ghost Riders that I would have wanted to see, and I think one of them shows up, but I can't remember.
Do you mean present day or past?
No. One of the ones that I've seen in the past, kind of a one-off one that was like, okay, this is not the ones you know about, but this is just one like somebody made for the issue.
Right.
And I think that one might have come back into play. I'm not sure if that was the one or not, but it looked like them. So yeah, so we we basically get a little bit of Ghost Rider history here. Robbie's talking to Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze is apparently still King of Hell, which, like I said, the status of that is what it is, and he gives a reason. He gives a reason as to why he's doing
what he's doing.
Yeah, he's doing what he's doing, and as I say in my notes, like, okay, I get his explanation, if not his methods. And it's still, but I guess being that Mephisto is not really a big spoiler, it's still kind of floating around, as we've seen a good bit of him in various comics recently. It all kind of comes back to that, because basically Blaze is like, look, I need more power, and Mephisto's still out there. He's wanting his spot back, so he needs more power to combat him.
Right.
And that's where he's trying to get Robbie's power with the Ghost Rider, and Robbie doesn't want his power anymore, but he's not just gonna he can't just give it away.
Right.
So, and therein lies where the wacky race, or less than wacky race, comes into play. So I would have expected, though, it was like, because it seemed like they were already just starting a race, but you only see these two, and I expected to be like a starting line where you see like Phantom Rider and Blaze and Ketch, even though they
like the Secret Wars story.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I guess they said, I was like, well, that's been done fairly recently. Well, I mean, it's been a couple of years, but I kind of expected more of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But at the same time, it was like, hey, this works just well. And the B plot in this is basically the rest of the Avengers fighting their own base of operations, which, if it didn't happen here, it was going to happen at some point, even though they're not really fighting it proper like they did when they first acquired it. And but because it got exercised, it got possessed.
Right. To an extent. It was possessed to an extent, because as we see at the end of the issue, it is yet another character of recent vintage who has come, who's been summoned and set upon the Avengers.
I feel like we knew that was going to happen.
Right.
We did. There was no thing saying that it was, but since we knew this character was around.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, we also saw Johnny Blaze sick this character on the Avengers. We just weren't sure how that was going to come about.
Right.
So
and that's coming into play now. Yeah.
Right. And
that's
an issue.
Yeah, and they still got me thinking, though, and I meant to go back and look at this, because I know he was one of the ones, and I know this means nothing because I know they all got out, but I'm going back to the Guardians of the Galaxy / Silver Surfer Black things, where everybody got sucked into the black hole, and he was one of the ones.
Yeah.
And I know that basically got taken care of during the, we saw what actually happened in Silver Surfer Black #1, and we saw the rest of the resolution in Guardians. But that still was like, wait, what happened to this? Was he still around? Was he that? Was he? Did he actually get out, or was he got thrown to the other side of the galaxy and whatever? And it kind of doesn't matter. But like, it's something that made me think about that at that time when he popped up. Either way, that was pretty much the extent of this issue. I think it was all right. No big things happened to it, but like I said, outside a little bit of history for Ghost Riders.
Right. This is one of the middle issues in the story arc, so we're just moving the story along here. No real big story developments other than the introduction of this other Ghost Rider. So we will see much more of this story in the next issue. What's going to happen ultimately with Robbie Reyes? Although I kind of like the bit about who drove a tank to a motocross race.
Right.
I was just like, all right, there's some old school teaching the young whippersnapper a thing or two.
Right, and that whole little line of dialogue talking about, yeah, Johnny Blaze, the world's greatest stunt driver, blah blah blah. That whole thing was like, yeah, okay, he is the first one, and the quote unquote first one in this line that we up until recent events anyway. So
Right. Like
That was
creating, like retconning multiple Ghost Riders into Marvel continuities.
exactly. So there's that. One more book you pick.
Let's see. We could talk about Amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, if we're going to do that, let's do Friendly. But yeah, let's do Amazing.
All right. So in Amazing 28, Amazing Spider-Man number 28, we get what happens to the Syndicate characters as their plans to deal with Boomerang go go up in smoke, basically. And they end up going through some hoops of the Beetle's making because she's scheming, and they don't exactly realize it until Boomerang clues them in. And also we find that whatever it is that Boomerang has on the Kingpin, whatever dirt or secrets that he has on the Kingpin, remain a tantalizing secret because it's a pretty powerful secret. You know, the information that he has is pretty powerful.
Right. This is basically equivalent to, if you've watched Pulp Fiction, whatever's in that box that we never actually get to see, which I hate pulling that reference, but at the same time, because I know there's been that got drawn from someplace else.
Right.
That's not the first time that's actually happened, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
Which has me questioning, like, what's on that piece of paper? I want to know. And they've been dangling that thing for issues.
Yeah, definitely.
So so because of that, this like that becomes one of the characters that get dangled around in this issue. The other being that Petey, through some spying, actually some spying as well as spidering, finds out that his roommate one doesn't like him, may not like him that very much,
right?
And two, that said roommate, being Randy Robertson, is seeing, dating, messing around with the Beetle. So
you gotta love it.
Yeah, and their conversation between each other, which at first I was like, even for the Beetle, this personality shift was like, that doesn't sound proper. But then I think back to Spencer's run on Ant-Man, and I was like, nah, she was kind of like that there too, to a point. And I guess in like in Doctor Strange from this week, some previous damage goes to get undone that was caused by Beetle and crew. So, and it was kind of funny because it was like, because at the end of the issue, like we saw not damage control, sadly, but a more local level construction crew that was brought in by some family ties of the Beetle.
Right.
Which I was like, okay, who's this dude? That's not that dude. And then it was like, oh, right. And then when you started talking about, where they came, when May starts talking about where they came from, I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
And then, come to find out who set that all up.
Like, we call him Mr. Lincoln.
Yeah, it was like a Mr. Stone. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, why are you bringing him in? Oh, right. That, it was not him directly, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't realize up until actually probably when she showed up here that she was in relation to Tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Well, Lonnie Lincoln.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of people named Lincoln who I didn't realize until I actually read up.
This is the Marvel Universe, though.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But because it was like I was doing some reading a while back, and I was like, wait, Beetle is Tombstone's daughter?
Mm-hmm.
He got a daughter?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was that. All right, cool. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. For
Amazing. So let's go ahead and hit like Friendly Neighborhood real quick. Then we'll go into rapid fire. But so this, as I say in my notes, one is particular look of the week, and two, we get two Mary Jane covers right ahead of her upcoming ongoing. One that's actually on the cover, and then a nicely placed one that is inside the book, which I thought was a nice little. I'm like, that's kind of neat.
That's a nice little bit of promotion right there.
Right. Because at first I was like, wait, does he have a picture? I mean, does he have a because they have actually had Spidey books and Spidey comics, and
mm-hmm.
Spidey comics and Spidey issues before, so that's not outside the realm of possibility. So I was like, wait, is that still going? And she just got her own book or something, or it's a Hellcat situation, or or Patsy Walker situation where she's like, yeah, guess what? You got another book, and he's bringing it in for something. It's not good. It just so happened to be something they did. So, but this whole story is from Mary Jane's perspective, as which is cool because she basically goes out. This is an actual day in her life Mary Jane, which we've seen previously before in was it Amazing? When the other issue where she I might think that was Amazing. There was another fairly recent issue that when we found out that she was getting an ongoing after that. So that I think that stems from that.
I think so.
But regardless, this is another day in the life of Mary Jane, and Peter comes home, and I didn't realize it at the time that it pretty much sets up what she was going to be dealing with, but I didn't think about it that closely.
Right.
Which, as you said earlier, is a little bit more fallout from Water Realms, which apparently a couple of books have been kind of dealing with in the last few months, in the last month since War of the Realms ended, which sometimes expected. Things kind of spill out of events. So she's going about her day, and she's inner monologuing, and she's doing some stuff with Aunt May, and I know like I like to believe that that Hot May Parker reference was a reference to the movie version. It might not have been, but I'm going to take it as that either way. As Mary Jane and Aunt May go out and do a thing, and then she Mary Jane being Mary Jane current goes and do the thing as it helps out with the situation, to where it seems like she's taking more credit than she probably should, but at the same time she did do some things. I'm not saying that she didn't do anything with the situation, but she also gets some help from another spider, that being Miles Morales, which I don't know. Is this her first interaction with him?
Unlikely.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because I don't recall seeing it, but doesn't necessarily mean that it is or isn't, because she's not like obviously she wasn't fazed by it, and she clearly knew who he was around. Or there are other spiders outside of Peter. So that was a known thing, but I was never sure of whether they had any interactions before, because they didn't seem like there was no familiarity in their conversation. Put it that way. It's not a big deal, but it was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because there's been so much crossover between all these characters in the Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon stories. It's hard to know if
you would think that would have been
if there's been any interaction between these characters up until this point. So it's hard to say. It might be their first time.
That's what I'm saying. So I wasn't really sure whether that's the case. In all this time, you would think at some point that would have happened, but at the same time, they were
also in different universes for the longest. So
I mean, but Miles has been in this universe long enough to where there could have been an interaction before now.
She also hasn't been a player in the Spidey books for a long time too, so that's why I'm more inclined to think this might actually be their first interaction. Remember, she was an Iron Man for the longest time because they weren't doing Peter and MJ as a couple for the longest.
Sure, and they're just starting to kind of put that piece back together.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I was kind of wondering. It's like piecing it out now. I was like, it doesn't seem like. That's why I didn't want to go ahead and say this.
No, it makes sense. Like I said, I just wasn't sure.
Right.
I wasn't sure.
It's kind of one of those things. Like I said, you would think something like that would have happened by now, but at the same time, there's no real, no real reason, one, for it to have, and two, I don't know. Outside of that, there was no real cause for it, I guess. Right. But hey, nevertheless,
I love the fact that MJ is still taller than he is by significant margin.
Right. And I like how neither one of them was kind of phased, but because just like her, when MJ saw, the digital webs come on, she was thinking, I'm like, you're supposed to be in bed, and I was like, no, oh wait, it's not that spider, wrong spider. So that was neat. But yeah, I enjoyed this story, and there was another thing. I don't know if you picked up on it, but there were a lot of references to other I guess you say other Spider books in a sense, but also other titles of Spider-Man. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
I'm scrolling through now. I'm trying to remember.
They're not well. They're obviously, if you think about it, the only one that didn't, the only the reference they didn't put in there was Web of, and I was kind of upset about that because it was like, so basically they did, because they mentioned Friendly Neighborhood. They called him because Peter called himself Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Sensational came up, Spectacular came up.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I just missed it. I was oblivious to it.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was that had to be intentional, but
sure.
Yeah, like I said, all of those kind of came up, but there was no. I was like, okay, I'm looking for a reference to Web of some kind of way, but I guess they didn't want to do that to make it that, to make it seem that it was that shoehorned in. But I still would have wanted it, regardless. Oh, and there was also references to Pete's never changing hairstyle and references in that.
Which is funny to me because I think it has changed. It all depends on the artist.
Well, there is that, but yeah, I agree with you. And also the medium in a sense too, because in other places it's definitely been a different hairstyle for other reasons. But largely, that's pretty much the same kind of hairstyle he's had for all of the time. So that reference was like, yeah, you're right. And like you said, artist aside.
Right,
a similar cut. So I'm like, that was.
It's not that square head cut that Ditko put on him, but anyway.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. So yeah, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 11. That was I enjoyed that issue. It was pretty good. And yeah, and as I said in my notes, face it, Tiger, this is happening. She's definitely getting a book.
All right,
spin it up.
Here we go.
I'm pretty certain that we pretty much ran through most of the books we've got together, and I think you've got the rest of all the ones that or at least the one.
Right. There's, I think, one last book that we have in common, and that is Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
And my notes are just that T'Challa's back on Earth, but his adventures in space are not yet over, and something that I'm looking for but something's followed him back from space.
And I'm sitting here like, oh no. Well, because there was a mention of someone that is not there, and I thought, okay, well, that must be where, that anomaly that showed up early in the issue, and then I didn't totally think about, well, it was a biological anomaly, and I didn't think about the fact that, oh no, not this. Which put me in mind of the current Venom / current.
This is an early, right? I was about to say this is an early development in the space story.
Right,
it happened fairly early on.
Yeah, and I didn't think there was, and they've never really brought that back up or had any reason to, outside of like, yeah, this is another, these are some other folks that's out here, and
sure,
and things happen to them, but apparently, yeah.
Until now.
Exactly. Which seems like weird. I was like, okay, I'm sure that was intentional.
Sure.
But it was like, okay, why pull something that you just dropped? Like,
And you also mentioned something about the time issues that they talked about here, which kind of resolved some of the confusion about what happened when, and when is the operative term here, because a lot of folks who have been reading this are just, it's hard to wrap your head around without an explanation about. It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that T'Challa is amongst, thousands, if not millions, of Wakandans at some point in time
that are ancestors / what have you, basically.
Either ancestors or progeny, but I think in this case they're actually progeny.
Yeah,
because of the time shift that Coates puts into the book.
And the one thing, and I don't know if we're going to get this, I'm and maybe this is just me wanting this, But what happened to the original folks? Because and I think we were right about what happened, sorta. Because we mentioned, like, because remember the fact that T'Challa had sent some Jokers out in space like a while ago and hadn't been as long as his. But then the story's always talking about 2,000 years ago, blah blah blah. What happened? It's like, well, that couldn't have happened unless some former regime of Wakanda did it happen. But again, we find out what actually happened, and it turns out it was a Planet of the Apes type situation. Which that sounds bad, but not really. I mean, it sounds bad if you think about it a certain way,
right?
What I mean was,
it's a time thing, and time travel is never fun.
Right, it's a time travel / warp situation, which coincidentally, which brought up another question to me, because I was like, well, why did that not happen to T'Challa and Eden when they went? But apparently they kind of explained that too. So yeah, there we go. He's back home, and things kind of get back in order, and he and Storm had a nice little reunion.
Yeah.
And we're going forward with whatever's going to happen with that other person that just got popped up.
Yep.
Thing that got popped up. Next.
Yep. Next up for me is Captain America number 13. So I'm kind of curious as to why Steve is not using his regular shield when he's running around in his Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. costume. Is it because only Captain America is worthy of wielding the shield? The Dryad is up for jumping right into the middle of today's headlines involving border crossings, and the Watchdogs return. These are characters from a particular run in the 80s, and I think that this is Coates' ode to Grunwald's Cap run, circa 86, 87. You got to be of a certain vintage to get that, so I respect that. It brings us all the way back to the introduction of John Walker.
Boo! Oh, is he using the photon shield?
Yes, he is using the photon shield.
Interesting. Okay,
that's why I said it's kind of weird that he would be not using his regular shield.
Not really, because I mean, he's kind of, well, it goes back to what you were saying, him being worthy and not, and I guess because the shield is pretty much synonymous with
Captain America, right?
Right. So that makes it makes some sense there, I guess.
Sure, no, I understand. But
yeah,
but at the same time, it's like, well, if I'm going to use this uniform, I'm going to use this photon shield.
Right. I mean, hey.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the creativity that's involved with using the photon shield. Maybe Coates likes it. I actually like the creativity that came with it. Gave Steve a little bit of a variety and some ability to attack from distance.
Right.
But I remember it being destroyed in an Avengers story where they had to where Justice Vance Astro had to unlock some Antarctic vibranium, and that destroys metal, and of course, the circuitry in his shield went all to kaputs. So
I mean, it's not like Tony or T'Challa couldn't make another one.
Oh yeah, exactly. They've made a bunch of them since.
Right.
So,
and I'm pretty sure there's some in some damage control warehouse that's probably one or two waiting to get stolen.
Goodness gracious. Let's.
Anyway,
I was about to say I'll actually get to that in a second. Justice League number 30. The war between Justice and Doom begins in earnest. We see that DC is using this the story to introduce more characters into the new DC continuity, namely Kamandi, the last boy on Earth, and the Justice Society of America.
Wow, Kamandi, that's a weird pull.
Yeah. I was very surprised to see that. I was like, whoa. I did not expect to see that character in this book.
Which I guess I wonder, this may be too far back thinking, because I remember a couple of years ago when they kind of brought him back out for a story or something that they were doing. I was like, if they couldn't have been putting him out for any no reason outside of like maybe copyright or something. But maybe they did it for this, or maybe that was just a coincidence. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So next up, Marvel Comics number 1000. Believe it or not, this is actually a potential click of the week. It's a great trip down memory lane, but it also serves to start a story that will be expanded upon in the upcoming year. There's lots of fun short stories that remind you that you can actually tell a good story in one page. And one note, and I was wondering if you had read this or not, because I wanted to mention that Not often, but here and there in the book, some of these one-page stories involve um, Marvel concepts that aren't necessarily based in the comics, but are based in the MCU.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how some of the MCU concepts get mixed in a little bit. So whenever it is you find yourself flipping through this, you'll
Oh, no.
you'll spot them, and you'll see what I mean in when you read it. So
Right. The only thing I was going to say about it is like I hadn't read it yet, and I was like, I think this has been hyped up for in the last month or 2 or 3 or 6 months, or however when we've been knowing about it. I think that might be lending
yeah,
why I didn't read it.
sure. I had fun reading it, and I also wanted to note that some of the creators, not all of the creators, there are some creators that are tasked with dealing with characters that we know them that are basically synonymous with their names.
Mhm.
But some creators are tasked with telling a story with a character you wouldn't necessarily expect them to use. So it's pretty interesting.
And I know there's a story out there. I don't think I saw it, but I may not have pulled it about and this could have been like a hot take or something, but it sounds like there's a Captain America story in there that's maybe goes a length to not make a political statement. I don't know. Like I said, I just happened to see this article, and I was like, I'll come back to it after I read
I
it.
was about to say this month's Captain America story was pretty political. Just the book, the regular book. The
Anyway,
the last book I have is Spider-Man Life Story number 6. This is definitely worth taking a look at because it's really not a bad alternate reality version of the Spider-Man story. Now, the conceit here is that it's told in real time. So you're dealing with Peter Parker in everything from Vietnam forward, basically. Having received his spider powers right before the start of the war. So it's an interesting way to see how it could have played out if things were being followed in real time, with the addition of events that have happened, in the comic book sense, and kind of evolving the concept to include older heroes in some of these issues,
right.
like older heroes and some of the same concepts. So it's pretty interesting. It was definitely worth a read. So it was definitely it was definitely pulled off better than I expected.
Question: is it actually Vietnam?
Going back to it, I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. I don't remember if they actually named it or not.
Because
Right, given the rewrite in the
right,
Marvel universe, I honestly have to go back and check.
right. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, for myself, let's see, She-Hulk Annual number 1. You didn't it's kind of surprised. So yeah, so I guess well, I wanted to say similar because the Panther 4 wasn't an old book, but basically this is older She-Hulk, and not meaning older in age, meaning an older version than the current version that we have now. This is, I guess you could say, this is kind of a classic, a more classic version of She-Hulk. It is not fourth wall breaking She-Hulk, I should point out, though. And I can't really place. Well, you can kind of place a timeline, but not really. So this is one of those Acts of Evil kind of tie-in books. Tie-in issues, and it's her going up against Bullseye, but except for not. So the premise is, hey, do you remember when Octavius took over the body of Peter Parker?
Yeah, of course.
Well, this is kind of a similar thing, and with a similar premise, sorta, kinda. But as we know from then, nothing like that would ever work and should never work in this particular instance. And they do go to the lengths of that. So Jennifer, well, the Machine Smith basically goes to Jennifer to get a case because he wants to get something back from somebody, and she's basically saying like, "Well, you're not you. You are a distinct entity, and you being a low person would know the differences between that. I'm sure." But so the Machine Smith basically hatches this elaborate plan to essentially change her mind about that, but we don't get that up until the last few pages. And this is kind of set, or at least very, very much starts back when a real thing, well, not a quote unquote real thing happened, but when Reed Richards and Tony Stark and them thought, hey, we should have a brain scan of all the Avengers and Fantastic Four stuff just to keep on record to for reasons of like say mind control or whatever. And it has come up not often, but once or twice. Like I think, and I go back to Superior Spider-Man because if I remember correctly, they were going to take a brain scan of Octavius while he's in Peter's body just to see if it matches up with the record they had of him, but it didn't work because, well, it didn't happen because he got out of it. And like I said, I do remember when the thing actually came up, so I was like, well, this is the thing that actually happened in comics, so that they've used. But basically what ends up happening is, and I'm air quoting here, She-Hulk's brain gets put into Bullseye's body and vice versa. But come to find out that it didn't necessarily happen like that, because again, something like that wouldn't actually work. And that kind of bears out during the course of this book. And She-Hulk finally gets it at the end of this book. Why is it something like, well, not necessarily, well, the fact that something like that, not necessarily why. And it kind of sort of changes her mind about, the what started this whole thing off, in a sense. And she takes Machine Man's case, which I'm sitting here like, why would you still do that given he caused you problems? But anyway, it was an interesting kind of fun read in a way, and I don't know what I was expecting out of it at this point.
Machine Smith is one of those characters that got a little shine in the Ant-Man Spencer series, so it's kind of cool to see that iteration, which is someone who is much more in the gray area of the law,
right?
Kind of residing. So it's kind of cool that this is coming up. It's also cool that at least She-Hulk is getting a little bit of shine in a what you would think is a solo book, because she doesn't have any solo books out right now. So
no, she don't. Yeah, and she's only with, which actually I forgot to mention that in the Avengers. The Avengers thing, her sliding appearance / personality change. Like I get it, but it's still kind of weird. For her, when she gets mad, she gets monosyllabic and but she keeps some control and she gets less green and kind of slightly more like her old self.
Right.
But a little bit more built, but it's still kind of weird that happens. Anyway, like I said, it is what it is on this one. So, and yeah, as we will find out in the news coming up, there's definitely more She-Hulk news to be had. And as Slott would say, like, hey, this is a good time for Marvel to maybe put out a omnibus, which I didn't think was a thing that didn't happen already. So that's a whole nother situation. Anyway, let's see. Marvel Team Up number 5. Which just kind of like I said about the Fantastic Four issue, this seems more like a Captain Marvel issue with Kamala sidekicking more than an actual team up. And you can even tell by the title, it's Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, and not Miss Marvel, who I assumed the book this was, and Captain Marvel. But again, I'm not sure, how this book is still going to progress. But regardless, we found out that the Marvel that we thought was Marvel was not Marvel, and that it's, I dare say, I guess we can go ahead and say it's a retcon, and I dare say an almost cinematics type retcon of something that happened in Carol's history or origin rather.
Mm-hmm.
But that aside, but things basically ends up not being what they perceived to be. Carol has some issues, wrestling with some issues with her, with one side of her, and Kamala's there, and they had a little tiff again, and that kind of got worked out, and so the plot unfolded, and not necessarily resolved, but brought in at the end of the issue a new wrinkle. And therein lies another cinematic tie. Even though I know the what they referenced is not a cinematic tie, but it is in this case, seemingly, because there's a group that gets called thanks to Fake Marvel. I'll call them, because you hadn't read it. Well, you read enough to know who that is,
right.
But dude calls up some Kree because he had a plan to kind of get back at the Kree, basically, and they send out somebody to meet him, and comes to find out that it's a group that we have seen in a recent movie. Let's say there's that, and that's going to cause some problems in the next issue. Transformers number 11 is my last book. Basically, Megatron's plot hits a little snag, but he kind of handles it in a way that being the I don't want to say mastermind, the scheming person that Megatron is, even though he's a senator. I mean, so there you go. And we find out, that Bumblebee's undercover, but it doesn't seem like he's doing a great job of it, because it seems kind of obvious in one of the. But the real thing, the big point, I guess, that comes out in this issue is that the Asenticons, which is Megatron's group that he's fronting, and behind the scene. Well, come to find out that in the end of the book, Megatron makes this kind of big speech, and we see the Asenticon figure, or the symbol, which was already kind of familiar, turn into a very familiar symbol that folks know. And it should be pointed out that if I'm not mistaken, so I even when this volume started, what in the world? When this volume started, it wasn't sure about the time frame of this book. Like, I thought it was like before the Great War, and this book is not giving me any reason to believe that it's not. So this could possibly still be a prequel to everything that ends up going on, or that's gone on in the old comic books. Or even the 84 stuff, but not necessarily, because basically this seems more in line with the old, with the last volume of Transformers books, and there are a lot of them. But we still don't know that, but it just seemed like that, because this looks like this is basically spoiler alert, the forming of the Decepticons.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is it. Clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week.
We have 2 from our erstwhile companions who are not here. And I don't know if did he put any notes in his ones or no? Well, Tim's is House of X number 3.
As Roddy would say, very little surprise there.
Basically. And Dirt's is Detective Comics 10-10-321.
And little surprise there.
Yeah, kind of.
As well, because that is, as PCN Dirt is fond of saying, the one Batman comic he can follow.
Yeah, that says more about him than the books. But anyway,
no, I was about to say it also says a lot about Tom King's run, which is always ready to drop at a moment's notice. Well,
that could be said. I'm sure there are some people out there that are actually enjoying it, though. But actually, I was going to ask you didn't happen to read Batman Superman, did you?
No.
Yeah, I meant to read that, and I didn't get a chance to. And also Batman Curse of the White Knight, which I kind of skimmed through, but I didn't put it in there because I didn't really get through the whole thing, or not yet get through the whole thing. But those are out this week. So unless you got your pick.
Yeah. Easy. I had a couple of contenders this week, but I'm going to end up going with what I had the most fun reading, which was Thor number 16.
I can dig it. That was pretty good. Oh, I want to point out that for myself, even though I was like dreadfully behind, Black Science number 42 came out this week, which is the last issue of that run or that series. And I know I was on board with that at the beginning, but kind of got, once they took on break, they kind of got lost. So I'm hoping to catch up with it to see what ends up happening.
Cool.
For my pick, I think I am going to go with Doctor Strange number 18.
Sure, it's a good one and done.
Pretty much. So there was a couple of good joints this week, but there is that. We're gonna get to the first ad read of the night.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron. Get fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news. All right. Scrolling. Get to our first news story. Our first news story is there's a report that Matrix number 4 is looking to cast a young Morpheus. So after months of rumors and speculation, Warner Brothers confirmed that fourth Matrix film is in active development, with co-director Lana Wachowski and stars Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss expected to return. However, as we noted last week, not included in the announcement was Lawrence Fishburne, who portrayed Morpheus across the original sci-fi trilogy. So according to Variety, sources close to the production have indicated that studio execs may be searching for an actor to portray a younger incarnation of the character for the planned sequel. And Roddykat's audio is no longer with us. He's no longer with us. And we're gonna figure it out. Roddykat. Aha!
You know what would happen if you don't hit mute? Because I was sitting there, I was like, why is he? I was getting the story. Why is he talking? And then I realized I was on mute. What is?
You don't remember that from? There's an era of Stone Cold Steve Austin where he was saying what, and all the people said.
No, but you just reminded me of another clip that I need to pull.
I need to pull Stone Cold saying what?
I can safely say it will not be a wrestling quote. This is coming from me. Anyway, next story.
I could see your mouth moving, and I went like this. I was like doing the I don't hear anything. So
well, I had the green room thing closed, so I didn't see you.
I got you. So
anyway, Matrix concept artists Jeff Darrow and Steve Skroke on board for part 4. So apparently I did not realize this, but these names are slightly familiar to me, even though I don't think I've read any books that they've. Well, I might have been something. Anyway, artist Jeff Darrow.
Let's say Jeff Darrow has a lot of his own creator stuff.
Right.
Steve Skroke did some Spider-Man work that you might play with.
That's what I'm saying. I have seen I've seen works of both of them, but I've not necessarily read it. Jeff Darrow of Child and Cowboy, and amongst other things. But apparently they were concept artists on the previous Matrix films, and they are going to be conceptual designer on the 3 Matrix films. And they're going to be on the 4th one. So there you go.
Alrighty. Next up, Star Wars Timeline gives official titles for the prequel, original, and new trilogies. So talk about retcons.
Well, not necessarily. They're just basically official titles for them. And the TLDR is they're lining up with the comics, the recent comics. So the Age of Resistance, Age of Rebellion, and the Age of Republic, which have all been, if you've been reading any or watching any of those Star Wars one-shot books, those are all named for the similar eras of timeline history. So obviously, the prequels are the Age of Republic, the Age of Rebellion is the original trilogy, Age of Resistance is the sequels. And they're just lining them up like that. Synergy. It's all working. Next up. Oh, we should point out, hey, guess what? D23 happened, as we said last week, and a lot of this news is coming out of there.
Yep, that's you. You're up next.
Clone Wars returned on Disney Plus in February. So, yay!
Nice. That's a cool thing to come back. I understood that was going to come back on Disney Plus, but it's nice that it's coming back relatively quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because they had announced that during Celebration, I believe. The last Celebration, and people were excited about it. Me being one of them, and I think you were too, have now watch of it.
Right.
Yeah. So that is good news. Anyway.
Caught up. Next up, the first poster for the Mandalorian show on Disney Plus brings us back to Tatooine for Binary Sunset.
And while we're on that, hey, guess what? There's we'll get to that in a second. The Mandalorian showrunner talks about exploring the freaky, quote unquote, the freaky Mad Max aspect of Star Wars, quote unquote. So I guess that's going to tell you something about what's going on. But you don't have to worry about that because of the next article.
Watch the first trailer for Disney's The Mandalorian.
Did you watch it?
I have not.
It's not bad. I mean, it doesn't seem like it gives away too much, but it looks good. I will say that much. So yeah, the trailer came out during D23 last weekend. If you're so inclined, just check it out. Bigger news, or as big news, I should say, as that Ming-Na Wen joins Star Wars: The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and this does not deserve a who, because we all know who Ming-Na
better not have. Right. So as I joked when this came out, I guess this makes her the Mulan-dalorian.
Oh no. Oh no.
Sadly, got no kind of reaction to that on Twitter. But
oh no. Oh.
It was pretty terrible. It was.
Oh, that was great. Stop it.
Hey, boo!
We love Ming-Na. She's, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is wrapping up. It's seventh season, I guess. Oh, stop it.
Oh my gosh.
It was great. Anyway, so that's awesome. More reason to check out The Mandalorian when it drops November 12th.
Yeah. So that basically combines with the next story. So I'll move on to the following story, which is Disney Plus confirms its Obi-Wan Kenobi series will begin shooting in 2020.
Yes, and there is some more. There's another story later on about that particular thing, which I couldn't shoehorn in because there's a lot. So confirmed. It's Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, not a movie, but a show. Which I guess they'll probably film it like a movie, so I'm sure they'll play it out like that. Cool. Let's see what is next. All these tabs. Amongst the other news from the Star Wars, or the one particular Star Wars panel that happened that was giving all this other news, we found out that there's also that Cassian Andor Disney Plus show that is still going. Again, going to happen, and we found out a little bit more about that. It's basically sounds like it'll go into production next year. So that means we probably won't see it for a bit. And we found out the time frame that it's going to be set in, which obvious since that character kind of came out in Rogue One, it's going to be set before then. And there was I guess an amusing tidbit from Alan Tudyk, who suggested that the show be called K2 Fast, K2 Furious.
Oh no!
And if you know who Alan Tudyk plays in Rogue One, you know why that says that. So anyway, yeah, there's that. Moving along.
All right, Lucasfilm revealed the First Order Jet Trooper from Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So that is a new type of First Order Stormtrooper.
Mm-hmm. Mom, there's new figures.
Right.
So you can see, them on display right there. Cool. Rey wields a new lightsaber in Star Wars: Rise of the Skywalker First Look. Yes, it's appropriate. So yeah, we're apparently things gonna get a little dark for old Rey, or maybe we don't know what's gonna happen.
Right, and we see a new version of a double-bladed lightsaber.
As I think Mark Hamill said on Twitter, it's like it's a switchblade lightsaber.
And I don't know if you saw the various GIFs or GIFs that came out, but one of them was of a Swiss Army knife.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I thought
that's what Hamill has said. Yeah, I'm scared. He said Swiss Army knife, not switchblade. I said that.
Yeah, okay. I was about to say, I'm like, I don't remember, but because I just didn't know that he said Swiss Army knife, but I know that graphic artists had created a Swiss Army knife look for it. So
right. So yeah, I don't know if that was around the same time, or he said and somebody went with it, or it just happened to be coincidental around the same time. But yeah, I have not yet watched this this spot, and I had intended on doing it because I'm curious as to, and I'm trying. I definitely, the movie's going to come out this week, so there's going to be a limited amount of stuff that I want to see before the movie comes out. And actually, shoot, we're at the end of August, going into September. It's not going to be that much longer.
Nah, just Christmas time.
Yeah, so. But anyway, hey, if you're so inclined and you haven't checked it out already, just go for it. Next up
is you.
Star Wars: The Rise of.
No, is this me?
Yeah, but no, that is you.
My bad.
Yeah,
my bad. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker may feature yet another Death Star, because if you don't succeed, try.
One more.
The next
one more.
Try again.
There we go. Yeah, and that is counting Skywalker. I mean, Skykiller Base from. Well, actually, technically, let me see. The first Death Star is actually that is Never mind. That's 3 because I thought it was 4. But apparently it was 3. Hey, 3 times the charm, right?
Right. This is the 3rd time, and hopefully at some point someone will figure out how the Force works.
Well, I mean, I think somebody's already done that. That's why there's been so much kerfuffle.
That's not how the Force works.
Yeah, hey, it is now. But yeah, so hey, we might get another Death Star, because. Well, wait a minute. Actually, it would be 4.
No, you counted it right. This is the 4th one if you count Killer Base.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I was like, what was I going back on for?
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe you weren't counting Star Killer Base. Because...
No, I was because I was going to say counting Star Killer Base. That's 4.
Right.
And then I second guessed myself for some reason.
Right, because you've got New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
they represented an Empire, and then it came out in Return of the Jedi.
Exactly. So yeah, it was over the course of those 2 movies. You get the second.
Mm-hmm.
You get Star Killer Base, and then you get this latest one.
Whatever this one's going to be. Yeah. So hey, just the Empire loves the Death Stars. Who knew? Next up, Oh, some very, 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 very joyous. Actually, I'm going to put the next two together because they are related. So from the Disney Plus side of things, there's going to be some new series. One of which being Miss Marvel. And I am happy to see that. So yeah, apparently the Disney Marvel is developing a live action series for Disney Plus surrounding Miss Marvel, hiring British writer Bisha K. Ali. I apologize if that is if I messed up your name. But Ali is a comedian who is currently staff writer on Hulu's remake of Four Weddings and a Funeral. So there you go. And in addition to the Miss Marvel news, there's also going to be a Moon Knight and She-Hulk live action shows that Disney Plus are going to be doing. So we get Marvel's Batman, sort of. I mean, it's not a 1-to-1, obviously. And obviously, there's been speculation of what taker they're going to use for Moon Knight. The obvious choice would probably be the Last Run with Mr. Knight.
It's possible. I mean, Moon Knight, for better or worse, actually does have a decent amount of stories to choose from and various iterations. It kind of depends on what look they're going for. If they are looking for the Mr. Knight aesthetic, if they want him running around in the white suit doing kind of supernatural investigations, that can be the direction they go in. But if they're looking to do the full cape, cowl, moon jet with Frenchie at the helm,
right? I kind of doubt they're going to do that. Yeah, I feel, I don't know. Part of me is like, yeah, I would like to see that, but I kind of feel like they probably won't do that.
I mean, that's a great aesthetic. That just seeing like him jumping in the air and seeing the moon cape, form the moon. That's pretty. That's kind of priceless. But
yeah, that'd be dope.
I'll see.
So yeah. Oops, sorry about that, folks. I hit the mic. Let's see. And with that,
next up then, Marvel's WandaVision show to co-star Darcy from Thor and Ant-Man's FBI babysitter, Agent Jimmy Woo, which is really weird.
Yeah, right?
I was very much taken aback by this news because while I love the fact that these characters are going to remain within the MCU, it's really weird to see, of all characters, that they would that these two in particular would be guest starring in the WandaVision show,
right? From two different corners of the MCU,
right?
Which these two into this,
which leads to some very confusing, at least ideas up front about how they would be crossing over and what has happened to them post their appearances in their most recent Marvel movies.
Well, so there is news on that later in the show, which I guess I could pull up right now, but now I'll wait.
Yeah, we'll just get to it.
Yeah, because there's been a little bit more development on that sort of. Falcon and Winter Soldier, Sharon Carter returning, and Wyatt Russell plays U.S. Agent, which I will go ahead and say I guess that's their villain for the show.
Yeah, and Wyatt Russell is actually
probably not, but still, I don't actually. Like U.S. Agent.
What's that?
I said he's probably not the well, actually he probably could be. I mean personally he's the bad guy to me because he's U.S. agent and I can't stand him.
He's one of the bad guys, I presume.
Yeah, and whether they're going to go like they did with Nuke and Jessica Jones and kind of not do the classic thing, or whether he's actually going to be the antagonist in some sort of way.
I get the feeling that they might introduce him as the Patriot character that they started the John Walker character as way back when. I just wanted to note that Wyatt Russell is Kurt Russell's son, and I think it's Goldie Hawn, and Goldie Hawn's son as well.
Right. Which he looks like what's his face from Saturday Night Live in this picture. I can't remember. Last Man on Earth.
I know you're talking about. Oh, Will Forte.
Yeah. he kind of looks like that in this picture, which I don't know what that says, but I guess that is the. Yes, I didn't put that connection together. Anyway, Marvel releases new details for Loki, What If, and more at D23. So we get a little bit more information on the Loki series, and a good bit more on the What If series which is the animated series based on the classic cartoon series, which we already knew that there's a bunch of characters, live action characters from the MCU that will be voicing their characters in the What If series, up into possibly including Tom Holland. There's a story on that later, but we never know. Well, I may not have put that in the story. It might be in the clickbait section. But yeah, there's a story surrounding that, given that other news. But yeah, that's the thing.
Continuing with the Disney Plus What If story, Peggy Carter is Captain Britain in one of the teased episodes of What If on Disney Plus. So that's pretty cool. Voiced by Haley Atwell.
Mm-hmm. So that ought to be cool to see when they do that. Speaking of Haley Atwell, apparently this came up as a thing, and she was asked whether or not Steve told her or told her character Peggy about kissing her niece.
Huh.
And she handles it, in a pretty good style. So if you watch the video, I'm not going to give it away.
Cool.
Next up.
Alrighty, in apparently surprising news, the series Book of Enchantment that was being developed for Disney Plus is no longer in development. It was based on a book, Villains by Serena Valentino, which had been in development for more than a year. But the report says the plug was pulled over creative reasons related to the show's tone and direction.
And I saw that name of the person writing the book. I'm like, wait, when did she write a book? But it's not the same person I'm thinking of. And don't look up that name, or don't look up a similar name if you know who I'm talking about. So yeah, we wasn't really sure what this was in the first place. So I guess it is what it is on that. Come on. Disney Plus will give subscribers 4 simultaneous simultaneous streams and free 4K. Adding to, this is, if you don't have 4K, it's not going to really do you that much good. But nevertheless, hey, just more little perks for Disney Plus subscribers, because Lord knows they didn't give a whole lot already for some people. So next up.
Alrighty. Disney Plus offer reduces the cost to less than $4 per month for 3 years. So this is an offer where if you pay ahead for 3 years, the cost of the subscription is reduced to less than $4 a month. So
yeah,
if you are willing to commit for that long, then you can get the best deal.
I mean, there's a lot of people talking about they were going to commit to this anyway, well before this, when this was just a name,
right?
And dropping Netflix and blah 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 and this and the other. So I'm pretty sure there is some probably people have already dropped into this. Now there was some question in our back channel whether this is included with the other deal that we talked about last week, and I'm still not entirely sure, but I think there may be a kind of similar deal for it, but I don't know for certain because I didn't go through the motions. And those motions would be if you have to sign up at the D23 account for an account, and then like 24 to 36 hours later, you will get notification on this deal.
Gotcha.
And if you feel like so inclined, which if you're not already a Disney fan and already have an account and you're doing this for this, you would probably already do that. So anyway, that's the thing. Go forth. Next.
I think too.
I'm waiting for this thing to load. Here we go. Speaking of Disney Plus stuff, Avengers Endgame will stream on Disney Plus beginning in December, and I believe that is exclusive to Disney Plus.
I think Endgame is going to actually start streaming on Netflix.
I thought there was
no, not on Netflix. Was it Hulu?
No. Well, I mean, either way, it's going to be in that thing, but
right.
I thought it said.
Right? No, not it wouldn't be on Netflix, but
Right.
but I could have sworn I saw that it was going to be streaming on Amazon. That's it. It'll be streaming on Amazon at the same time.
Okay. Wait, through Prime or through?
Prime.
Huh, interesting.
That's
Okay.
my understanding.
Well, I thought there was something. I thought they said something about it being exclusive here, but maybe not. Okay. Or I'm thinking of something else. So yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. I mean,
All right.
we knew it was gonna come there regardless, but
Right.
Just the thing. But basically, this is also noting the other stuff that's going to be there day one, or the other movies that are going to be there. It's not all of the MCU, but it's a good clump of them.
Right. So in some more animation news on Disney Junior of all things.
Yeah.
Marvel's Spidey and His Amazing Friends is going to come out, and it's geared towards preschoolers and their families. The series is set to debut in 2021, and we will be the first full-length Marvel series for the Disney Junior audience. And the characters involved are going to be Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Gwen Stacy, aka Ghost Spider.
So the technical definition of Spider Friends, as opposed to us of a certain vintage who got Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this, except for the part where I was like, okay, the shoe's gonna drop with the sorter, I was thinking, okay, they're gonna do Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and it's gonna be them again. And
yeah, we can only hope.
And it's not. But still, this crew's cool. And it's basically, it sounds like it's going to be a much younger, I guess this might be the younger version, the youngest version of Spidey that we've gotten.
I think so.
Because I think he's going to be in. Is he going to be in grade school or something? Regardless, he's going to be younger than even I think. Wait, what was the youngest animated version? I guess this is one in that's currently going now, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So regardless, yeah. So
right. So Disney Junior, that's a cable channel, correct?
That is a crazy cable channel, but I mean, it's all going to be on Disney Plus.
Put it on Disney Plus.
More than likely, probably, yeah.
So we don't.
I can't see why not.
We don't know for sure, but it seems likely. I gotcha.
Right. Like it, yeah, and even it doesn't say here, but I can't see why they would not put that on there. But who knows? Next up. Oh, hold on. There we go. Stupid autoplane. Ugh. Marvel and Disney reveal Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur cartoon with Lawrence Fishburne. So, Lawrence Fishburne's producing a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated show. That's going to be on the Disney Channel and more than likely to Disney Plus at some point, if not at launch. So, if you're looking at the video, you can see looks like what looks to be the style. The art style they're going to use for it. It looks all right. Looks cool. And I've seen buzz on the Twitterverse about casting for it, and some people are saying, well, the casting should be easy considering Lawrence Fishburne is on Blackish, and so is I can't remember the little girl's name. Thanks. That plays the little girls on that plays the little girl on Blackish as Lunella.
Okay.
I don't think it says here, and there's no, and that's not official. That's just people speculating.
Sure.
Because I know she's got some things going on also. So that's if that's the case, then
Well, if they're looking for age appropriate cast,
exactly, she would be close. Yeah. So, but that's not necessarily something they're going to do that or even thought about. But yeah, I guess that makes kind of sense. Regardless, hey, that is a project that is coming. As much as I hate to say this, soonish.
sure.
But not really soon. It's probably gonna be sometime next year, I guess.
Right, because it is animation after all. So
exactly.
In our next story, the next Marvel Rising special introduces a future Thunderbolt to the series. So this is the Marvel Rising animation show focuses on a group of younger characters. It's a relatively diverse group that includes Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, and I forget the character from the Inhumans.
Quake?
No. Oh yeah, Quake, and there's another one as well. But in any event, in particular, this this special, one of the promos released shows that Screaming Mimi is going to appear. So this is free Songbird.
Right. Thank you. That's what I was trying to remember. I was like, wait, I know that's not her name now.
Right.
Right. So yeah, and who I guess she showed up in something fairly recent in the comics, but regardless, yeah, that's the thing. Patriot also, or a version of Patriot also. I think the current version of Patriot also has been in Marvel Rising, but I think it's mostly centered around like the ladies, like Captain Marvel has been in there, Spider-Gwen and such, and Miss Marvel, Squirrel Girl, but I know Patriot is around, and I think there's probably somebody else. So yeah, it's just one more name to the pot. Next, I think it's you.
I just read Marvel Rising.
I need to do better about that. Okay. Black Widow footage leaks online will please Winter Soldier fans. So yeah, so apparently there was some leaked footage of the Black Widow movie that leaked online before D23 happened. And I say that because I believe I will take this next one also. Because there was actually a Black Widow trailer that happened at D23. We still don't know when it's going to be released apparently, but yeah, you can go check out that trailer if you're so inclined. And I don't know if it's the same plus stuff that's got leaked or not. Matter of fact, I'm going to take this next one after that too, because it's kind of related. And with all of that, there is apparently Black Widow's white costume gets shown off at D23. I guess, presuming around the time they showed the trailer. And yeah, somebody took some video of it, and I guess some people like it. So cool.
That works. Although that little headline is, I guess, misleading, because if you wanted to please Winter Soldier fans, you'd see Bucky show up.
Yeah, I guess. I have not seen the footage myself, so I do not know what it even is.
Right. I mean, just based off of the notations that we have, it's more of a look and feel.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, no telling. Well, and subjective writing.
Right.
Next up.
Yeah, so the next story is about WandaVision, which will be the MCU's first sitcom. Oh no.
Yeah, and when I first saw this, I was like, why? What? Huh? But if you kind of think about it, it seems like it's going to quite possibly take notes from King and Walter's Vision series.
Mm-hmm.
And because even this article says something about nosy neighbors and whatnot. So and I thought about it for a second. I was like, yeah, that's still weird, but at the same time, I see how that could be played into a sitcom.
Right.
But it's still weird, and it's like I don't know how to feel about that though.
I mean, I can see how we get to that point because we first have to establish how the Vision is back.
Well, there's that.
Once they do that, they might just decide to settle down now that like post, we don't know what the situation with the Avengers is going to be. So that's what the Vision's life was, from his incarnation till his death. So we don't know if he's ready to kind of move on and live a domestic life. So that might be the natural progression of the story.
Mm. Yeah, because at first I was thinking, well, they could technically do like that missing time that when they were together, during Infinity War. I guess they could have done something with that, but I don't know. That doesn't seem like a way to go. But
right.
So yeah, like I said, it seems like they could be taking more notes from the Vision series,
sure,
as opposed to, or at least that's speculation.
Right, it's going to be weird, but let's not lie. We're going to be on board to see it. So,
oh yeah, we're going to watch it for sure. But yeah, because I need to, I need, as much as I'm thinking like I'm not sure how I feel about it. I definitely need to see what's going to happen with it.
Sure.
Next up, come on. Here we go. Oh. Kit Harington just can't get away from Swords and Armor. Confirmed as Black Knight in Eternals. Yes, folks. Eternals. Which I thought about this, I thought about this. I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, but except for it does when you consider the fact that Black Knight, being an Avenger, has been an Avenger in the past, has had some ties to an Eternal.
Right. Who was also an Avenger in the
Who is also an Avenger at the time. Yes, exactly. Obviously, that connection is probably not going to get brought up in the film. And as I said on Twitter, I'm like, man, if that Inhuman stuff could have gotten together, they could have added the third party in that little triangle. Because Crystal was also an Avenger at the time and had a thing with Dane Whitman, Black Knight.
Sure, it's a shame. It's a shame. Some people will just say, "Oh, too bad, so sad," and that's generally my opinion about the Inhumans. But it's just a shame that it got wasted. And the hope is that they are able to recover the property in the sense that they can relaunch it. So,
yeah, I'm going to pull in this next story also because it's related.
Sure.
In that Feige, that will be Kevin, sees potential in Kit Harington's Black Knight Beyond Eternals. And I say the nay because, yeah, okay, Dane and Black Knight was an all right character. There's really not that really much, okay, yeah, sure, there's the Ebony Blade stuff, but there's really not much in there to make him a thing. Like, at worst, he's one stem short of Hank Pym, and not in Smart's area.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side of that, he's kind of Ant-Man-ish. Could potentially be, because he's been played a couple different ways in the comics,
right?
In the past, and they've thrown him on teams, and he's come in and done something. But I don't. This is me talking. Not that interesting a character to make a thing out of it.
All right, it's a difficult character to make something of. So
right.
But if this is Marvel just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it sticks, they generally have a good track record of seeing stuff stick.
Sure.
So in related Eternals news, Gemma Chan, she of Minerva minor fame, was cast as Sersei for the Eternals. So that is Sersei, not from Game of Thrones, but Sersei from the Eternals,
or from DC Wonder Woman, or whatever. Yeah,
right. So just another in a long line of characters named Sersei. So
and by the cool. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's pretty cool that they've continued to add characters, and that was a character that we had not yet seen casting news of.
Right, and people were hoping that it wasn't going to be like, hey, her Minerva character in paint again or something or other. But just not necessarily saying that still couldn't hold true. But we know Sersei enough to know that that's not.
Right, she's just running around in a green bathing suit, which is fine for me.
I mean, yeah, hey, works it out. And as we have just said, but without saying much, this is the Eternal that Dane Whitman has had some history with.
Mm-hmm.
So you put two and two together and think that's probably going to be in the Eternals. So
more likely than not.
Yep. Next up, speaking of Eternals, we get an early look at the Eternals cast and characters in costume and who they are. So if you see this, the picture that I am putting up from the D23 panel. And yeah, you can see everybody on stage and pictures of their characters in costume. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they are screen appropriate looking costumes, not necessarily comic appropriate, but hey.
Right. Or not necessarily comic accurate.
Right.
But, there definitely plays on some of their looks in the comics. So.
Mm-hmm. So sorry, no green bathing suit.
Well, no, we don't see. Do we have a Sersei up there?
Yeah, it's up there.
Okay. Yeah, no green bathing suit. Boo.
Ooh, I'm dying.
But I mean, that's still not ruling out,
Yeah, there's always the possibility.
There's going to be some kind of reference to it, like even if it's just like hanging up in her thing, or
sure
having a particular scene where she comes out of it or goes into it or something. I don't know.
Right.
Regardless, that's the
more
thing.
Eternals news. as it's been confirmed to feature the MCU's first married, openly gay family man. So there you go. We are getting all of the Eternals that we thought we wanted and more.
Yeah, that is true. I don't think it says who it is, but yeah, I have my speculations. And it's fairly obvious, but that's fine. We'll find out whenever we find out. Next up, when this thing loads, Black Panther 2 is coming out in May 2022. You could not see the gesture I just made, but you can imagine what it is. Wakanda Forever. Exactly. So yeah, this was also announced during D23. Ryan Coogler is going to be directing again, and as it says here, is said the team is taking their time with it, quote unquote, in order to get it right. So yay, I'm happy.
We knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, with the scheduling that was put forth in during the San Diego Comic-Con panel, this slots right in between some of the movies that are coming out later on in that time period. So it's going to work out. Now we're going to see, I think, a lot more of these slots being filled in as the phase starts to come into the next phase of the Marvel Universe starts to come, into a more clearer picture.
Not to be confused with Dan Slott, who has nothing to do with.
Oh no.
Yes. May 6th, if I didn't say before, May 6th, 2022 is when it's coming. Somebody said on Twitter, I like how they believe we're still going to be around to a couple of years from now, in relation to the state of the world and the way it's being run now, and such and such. But hey, you know what?
You have to plan.
Yeah, exactly. Next up.
Yeah, so the Marvel Phase 4 D23 trailer teases a feature of the MCU. So, yeah, kind of what I was just talking about before, about how the D23 news, basically slots in more information over the next phase or two, or even of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right. I haven't seen the teaser trailer, but I'm pretty certain it's basically a lot of stuff, a lot of the shows that we just mentioned, sure, plus the ones we already knew about, kind of logos and whatnot of it. So cool. Next up, Tom Holland and Kevin Feige on Spider-Man's future after Marvel Sony talks collapse. Ugh, my speech patterns are collapsing.
That's because of how we feel about this awful news.
Yeah, it's terrible. I believe this is where we find out that if we did not say it already.
Well, no, a lot of this stuff popped up after our
I know, but I can't. But I think part of this might have been
right because part of it happened at D23, and part of it happened at Keystone Comic-Con appearance that Tom Holland had on Sunday. So
right. Well, this particular article is from D23. And I believe this is the one. Yeah, because I think I'm not sure. Yeah. If I got the story right, Holland made a surprise appearance there and happened to jump on stage with them. Because I don't think he was
there he was there to promote an animated movie.
Was he?
Yes.
Oh no! Yeah. The Pixar stuff. Yes.
Not expect him to speak on Spider-Man, but he
right.
did. He did it on his own.
Right. That's right. Because and by the way, so the D23 obviously is a lot of Disney stuff, and there was a good bit of Pixar news which we're not going over because it's already enough news, and slightly out of the purview of this program, even though we've dived off that cliff many a time.
It depends.
Yeah. But but nevertheless, that stuff's out there, including the animated Pixar animated thing that he's a part of. So yeah, I knew that was he was on stage for that as a surprise, but I couldn't. I forgot about that. He was in another thing. Anyway, next up, and I think the gist of it, which what I was trying to say was, I think this may have been when we found out this is he's going to continue playing Spider-Man, regardless of not being
right. As far as
in MCU,
right, as far as he knows, he'll be playing Spidey.
which
Apparently,
he has said before.
right? They've already pitched a story that's not going to involve the MCU. So we'll see how this goes. There's still time. Maybe not as much hope, but there's still time.
Yes, A New Hope is with that other franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we might not get the resolution to that one thing.
Right. So, in a related story,
Hmm.
The Sony Marvel Spider-Man Fallout was linked to the Dark Phoenix failure.
And I say, as I said on Twitter, how Sway?
Well, so according to Variety, an inside source claims Disney was motivated to bail out of the talks due to it wanting Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige to devote time to the Marvel properties once owned by Fox, which includes the X-Men. That's allegedly. So allegedly following Dark Phoenix's disastrous cinematic run, Disney decided to end the negotiations with Sony. And to that, I say...
That feels like BS to me.
Yeah, I think that's just a cover story.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we knew Sony wasn't telling the whole truth as to the breakdown in the negotiations. We already established that. And which has nothing to do with this anyway, because that's Fox. And Fox was kind of getting into the fold of the Disney acquisition. And let's face it, folks, none of those movies have ever been, maybe the first one. And some would say First Class, and I don't know. Some people have the debate over First Class versus Days of Future Past. I can't remember where I am on even that. And either way, as a whole, those X-Men movies haven't been that great. This one just happens to be the one that has done presumably the worst at this point. And I still don't see how in the world that could have anything to do with this. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing and not supposed to see. We're just gonna move on, but that sounds stupid.
More related news, though. Go on.
How? Yeah, this kind of points back to the What If stuff from earlier. How is Spider-Man still in Marvel's What If series? And all I'm going to say that this is just a long, drawn out.
Yeah, I was about to say this is one of those. This is actually fairly clear cut. Disney owns the TV rights.
Well, yeah.
That's
well, let me phrase that. This article was. I didn't say I didn't mean the explanation, but this article kind of goes by far length. But anyway, continue.
No, but that's it. That's it. I was just kind of surprised to hear you say it's complicated. It's actually not.
No, the explanation is actually really not. It's just but the article just goes. Right. Yeah. Right.
Because at the end of the day, that was pretty clear from previous understandings of the right issues, which is the movie rights lay with Sony, but Marvel and Disney continue to have the TV rights, and that's where this falls. Right.
And we kind of talked about some of that last week when all of this was talked about. So yeah, like I said, it was the article I was talking about.
Gotcha.
Anyway, next up. Recut New Mutants movie is testing well with audiences, which, yay.
Hey, it's supposed to be more horror-y.
Well, yeah, I think it was initially that anyway. Yeah. Oh, well, let's hope it's not horrific because we have enough mutant movies that's horrific. But yeah, this is definitely one that they have said off the bat that was going to have a more horror tone to it, and I guess. So I know that we're talking about reshoots, and I don't know if there's recuts, there's reshoots that they've been saying that have been put off for the longest, for a day and forever, was mixed in with this recut, or this is just stuff from what they already had. I don't know, but it bodes well that is testing well. It's also kind of a bad thing because putting things in front of a focus groups not always a great thing.
But there's still test audiences because every movie goes in front of a test audience.
True, and they sometimes gets changed from that, but sometimes that doesn't make a movie that much better. I'm just saying. I mean, it happens more than just movies, but I'm just whatever. Anyway, that's my opinion. You don't have to believe it. Right. Next up,
I was about to say Endgame even went in front of test audiences.
Well, that wasn't the point.
I know. I know. So the New Mutants movie also has released a behind-the-scenes photo which teases Illyana's soul armor in her magic form. So that's cool.
I still think that's a pretty damn good casting choices based on look. I don't know why. But yeah, whatever. When that movie comes, every time the movie comes up, I'm debating about whether I'm actually going to see that in the movie theater or not.
Same.
Yeah, and I'm still not sure where I am with that.
Considering it's not really following in the footsteps of the X-Men movies,
Right.
So it's on its own. It's a matter of how much they decide to go with comic stuff. So
right, and at least it is a very specific, fairly well regarded volume of New Mutants in a kind of way. But I'm like, shouldn't you establish them first before you do something like that? But at the same time, I'm like, now you could actually do that. And at the same time,
I was about to say, if
them.
I'm thinking that Demon Bear storyline is early in their
right.
run, so
yeah. But obviously, you weren't going to get their establishment the way they came out because the things the pieces aren't lined up. Regardless, Blade soundtrack is getting a vinyl release for the first time. Yes, that is the original movie version of Blade with Wesley Snipes. The soundtrack for that movie is finally getting vinyl because I hear that's a big thing these days.
okay,
sure. October, yeah, for all you vinyl heads. I mean, there was some good music on there. Let's face it, but after all the time, which I mean, sure, renewed interest in Blade. I get it. October 4th is when it is going to come out. There's the pre-order out there. You can look that up. I'm not going to do it. Next up.
All right. Next up, the Joker movie is officially rated R for bloody violence and disturbing behavior. So that's not surprising considering what they've been going for.
Yeah, not really.
Given the trailers, it can't help but give me the heebie-jeebies. Just from the body language and the body contortions that that Joaquin Phoenix goes through. It's it's just creepy.
Yeah. Now I was gonna say you take the next two because they are related.
All right. Well, Mark Maron, who will appear in Todd Phillips's Joker, has shared some controversial opinions about comic book movie fans.
Yeah.
So he's got some issues with them. He generally doesn't like them. He doesn't want to be bullied into seeing those movies, and I'm not going to be bullied into listening to your podcast anymore.
Basically, wait, you actually? Anyway,
I listened to his podcast once when President Obama was on it. And he's a grown up. He's not 7. He thinks these movies are for grown male nerd childs. And you know what?
This is Sparta!
And part of me, and maybe this is wrong. Yeah. He's every now and then has had his hot takes, which is seemingly for attention. Him and Mara, and et cetera. But I don't know. I'm like, part of me is like, why are you even in this movie then if you feel like that? I'm like, yeah, that's apples and oranges, but still, I'm like, if you feel that kind of way about it, you didn't think about that way about that check though.
Right. And just a quick thought on this. I've spoken to people who are comic book people, and I've interacted with them online, and there are some people who are just honestly wondering, is this going to have any Batman at all in it, or is it just going to be Joker in name only? And it's just it's just a psychopath movie that's just labeled Joker.
Yeah, I mean, this seems, by at least speculation and by some accounts, the way it looks like the trailer's going, this is a Venom situation,
right, where the villain is all on its own.
At least that's what it feels like. Now, who knows? Maybe they could just pull over and was like, "Hey, guess what? At the end of the we heard about there's this bat in Gotham." I don't know, but yeah, this just kind of seems like it's on its own because weren't they supposed to be doing another Joker movie that's kind of more in with whatever they're trying to do?
That sounds somewhat familiar. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, they may have killed that one for sure for good. I don't know, because there were definitely 2 of them at the time, and this one's seeming to be actually coming out.
Right. Right.
So
I
I
might
don't
as well
know.
take the next story as well because it's
Yep.
about the trailer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. So the Joker trailer transforms Joaquin Phoenix into the DC villain. So we see a little bit more of the transformation, the physical transformation, and the makeup transformation.
So, do you care about seeing this?
I'm still kind of torn about this. I am because I know people who are there day one. I'm on the fence. I am. I just am. You know, part of
I understand. Yeah.
right. Part of me can just justify this as simply being an Elseworlds. You know, because you know this could be a Joker movie that is all on its own in another version of the DC universe.
Will we be bringing this up at the end of the year, folks? Stay tuned.
Yes.
October 4th is when it comes out. By the way, it's apparently still on track.
We will see. I mean, some of us may watch it in protest, as of in various ways.
Sure.
Just to see, just
to say they've seen it. Yeah,
just to review it for academic purposes.
Sure.
So,
which reminds me of another conversation I got into recently. I'm like, but anyway, and James Gunn's Suicide Squad gets Guardians of the Galaxy alum for King Shark. So Deadline reports that comedian Steve Agee, I don't know. I'm terrible with names. Why? I don't know.
I thought it was AG.
It might be. That's why I was trying to pronounce it. I don't know. Regardless, will voice King Shark in the upcoming film. AG previously worked with Gunn on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where he played Jeff. I have no idea who the hell that is. I'm assuming that's a Ravager. I don't know.
Okay. So are we gonna get a King Shark verse in Baby Shark? Oh no!
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, next up.
One turn deserves another.
Nathan Fillion joins the Suicide Squad. Report.
Yes.
So it's closed roll. We're not sure what it is yet.
Yes, or even if that's actually Kate. So I feel like I can see, Kate. I'm about to call him Kate 6 because that was his Destiny character, even though Rip Kate 6. Especially with that look he's got now. I don't know if that dude. I think that dude is supposed to be coming back for Rick Flag. I believe. I'm not sure, but I could see him as Rick Flag if that's not the case.
No, I think the was it Joel Kinnaman? I think it is.
I don't know.
Is going to be back as
I think I remember seeing that. So, but like I said, but if that wasn't the case, I could see this. But so who knows? Who's whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, next up, in a slightly weird story, Taika Waititi in talks for a Suicide Squad. And this is your friendly reminder that he is not only a seemingly talented director, but he also used to be an actor. Still is an actor because he's acting in
Korg.
Right. But
right, and what's funny is that I think I remember seeing something posted. I want to say it was in social media where the title to the article is this, and they were like, "What? Why is he directing? I thought James Gunn was directing." And as you said, people forget Taika Waititi is also an actor.
Unfortunately, the one that this article brings up is not the one that I would want to be. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I mean, whatever. It is what it is. So he was in 2011's Green Lantern. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember it either because I've seen it.
So is Nathan Fillion.
Well, that I remember though.
He was in animated.
Right. Yeah, he's voiced Green Lantern, and but yeah.
All right.
So
talk about keeping it in the DC family. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of the DC family, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, in actors Brandon Routh and Courtney Ford are going to depart the CW drama as series regulars during season 5.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and Routh says basically says I don't want to say obligatory, but he basically says hey his time was good on there and blah blah that isn't another, but
Right.
So yeah, he's you know, I'm not sure what's prompting it, but it is what it is. And I don't know who the lady is because I haven't been keeping up with Legends. I'm thinking that might be Isis. I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Find out when I find out. Next up, Titan Season 2 synopsis reveals a villain's past with the team. So, and we've given all the talk that we ourselves have even given towards this Titan. I guess we can kind of know where that's headed because we know Deathstroke's going to be there. And according to this, it says that according to the official plot synopsis, hinting that Deathstroke will not only be introduced, but that he has a dark secret regarding the Titans that threatens the stability of the entire team. No surprise. Where there's a group of Titans, eventually Deathstroke will come.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I said, and we also know Deathstroke's family is going to be in the mix too. So yeah, you can kind of put 2 and 2 in together.
Sure.
Next.
Alrighty, in Young Justice news, Young Justice Outsiders finally makes, spoiler alert, a team leader. So I finished watching this. They finished the season.
Oh right, because that came out, yeah. And this is from stuff from the last batch that came out, which I was already caught up on. I need to get to that stuff.
So you haven't finished it yet?
Right.
Okay, so I won't say anything.
But this particular, like, I've passed this.
Oh yeah, so Superboy is taking a leadership role.
Right, and that was in the very last episode that I saw, which well, no, because that was the last episode, 23, because they put the rest of it after that, the last 4 or 5 episodes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up on that to see how the season ends up. Without spoiling, what you think?
It was good. It was good. They resolve the storyline that we were talking about in a very different way.
Huh. Okay.
Very different.
Wait, the one that we thought that they could do next season?
Right. They resolved that in a very different way.
Interesting. Well, no, I guess they got sure.
All I can say is different. I'm not going to say anything else other than.
No, I got you. Yeah, because we knew there was speculated. It was only speculation on our part that they could have thrown it to the other season with what was left. But yeah, I'm not surprised that they went ahead and done something. But that doesn't negate anything depending on how they ended it up. So
actually, yeah.
Oh,
I was just like,
okay, never mind then.
I sat there like, really? Okay. Because there's still a lot of stuff going on. So
sure. Yeah, and there was like a few different plot points going. Well, at least 2 or 3 different plot points, not a whole lot, but there was a couple things going on. Did they resolve everything or no? Never mind. Yeah, okay. Because I know there's it depends on how they do it. Like I think last season was like, hey, we did a time jump and then basically hint towards where we're going towards next season. And I can't remember if too much from last season kind of bled over outside of some Blue Beetle stuff.
Well, you got Labor Day weekend to catch up, so
I got all the time in the world basically. But,
you can pull it up after the show or this weekend and catch up on those. They go quick because they're only
they do. I mean, this is probably one of the few that I've actually sort of binged.
Sure.
And I'm, if we talked behind the scenes, I'm not usually a binge watcher, but like you said, these kind of go back quick and they're good. So anyway, next up, G.I. Joe movie spinoff Snake Eyes cast Andrew Koji as Storm Shadow.
Okay, that's kind of a
who.
Thank you. I was waiting for that.
I mean,
because I don't know. Regardless, I don't know if he even says here. Oh, no, it doesn't say here. Never mind, it doesn't matter. So yeah, we have a Snake Eyes.
All right.
Or potentially have a Snake Eyes. It goes.
Alrighty. Next up, the first.
Excuse me, Storm Shadow, not Snake Eyes.
Storm Shadow, yeah. The first trailer for the origins of Alien is almost as haunting as its inspiration. So
yeah, this is not necessarily comics related, but there have been Aliens comic books, and yes, this is about the original Alien movie from 70.
Is it a documentary?
Sounds like yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of behind the scenes of the making of that original Alien movie, and there's a trailer here if you're interested in kind of seeing whatever. But yeah, it says according to this, it says memory. The origins of Alien won't cover a specific moment, a la 7852. I'm not sure what that is talking about, but rather the entire production of the 1979 movie, picking apart production, design, thematic elements, and Scott's process for bringing the claustrophobic corridors of the Nostromo alive. So yeah, kind of that. So basically, this is stuff that you probably would have gotten on some commentary, I would imagine, or a featurette.
All right, and last but not least, this is yours.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as we talked about earlier, Obi-Wan series takes place 8 years after Revenge of the Sith. So this is obviously after Order 66 is put in place. Around somewhat during the time of Rebels, maybe. I'm not entirely sure about that because the time frame between we know it's like 20 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and just slightly less for Rogue One, but that's beside the point. And I mean, well, actually, technically, it still was kind of same time frame-ish. So yeah, so this is probably could be him in the desert, you know. And as the comics, the Star Wars comics did, or starting off, there was like Diaries of Ben Kenobi. Maybe it's him in the desert looking after Luke, or it could be before that, before he gets to that point. We don't know. Who even knows?
Okay.
But we know when it is, so that's kind of a rough guesstimation about what could happen, what could be going on. Okay. Maybe he settles down with the one one senator or the one ruler of that one planet and say, "Wait, I gotta go." Well, no, I don't think that happened. That's a Clone Wars reference. Okay.
You have to go back and dig into that again. All right, so I guess we're going to transition over to comic book news, right?
Yes, we are. Apparently, Marvel's Gwenpool is worthy of lifting Mjolnir.
Yeah, I'm looking for this now because apparently what they mentioned is that in the November solicits, there's an image of there's a cover image of teasing this.
Right, and you can see that cover here.
I'm flipping through the November solicits that came out this week.
Right. For those of you watching the video, can see it playing on the article.
And I'm like, boo! But obviously, this is Gwenpool. Gwenpool doesn't follow any rules. Oh, I see it now. Lame. Anyway,
yeah. Although that if Mjolnir's on a chain, like what's happening there? But
maybe it's the mace that Thunderstrike uses.
Well, but it says Mjolnir. But who?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah.
So,
who knows?
The next story is about Thor number 16, which was out this week that we talked about.
Yeah, we kind of already talked about. So
Thor skips out on a party in his own honor.
Which given what he was doing, I'm not gonna sit here and say justifies, but I feel like there was either a soap opera or some sort of TV show or something where something like that happens where the main character is like off doing something else and everybody else is at the party waiting for him and that kind of thing to great effect. Oh, cool. Anyway, X-Force number 1 teases the return of an underrated X-Men villain.
Okay.
Yeah. This is also from the solicits. And obviously we know there's a slate of X-Men books coming out around that time. I'll go ahead and spoil it. It's Black Tom Cassidy. Exactly.
Okay.
Next. Yeah.
I mean, what's funny is that we're so used to, readers of a certain vintage will know that Black Tom Cassidy is never far from the Juggernaut. So it's kind of weird to see one without the other. Well, it's kind of weird to see Black Tom without Juggernaut. It's not so weird to see Juggernaut without Black Tom Cassidy.
Right. Or Banshee too far away from at certain points.
Right.
So yeah.
Next up, Chip Kidd, Ed McGuinness, and more joining Spider-Man #1 on covers. So this is the Sarah Pacelli and who's it's the director guy. And his son.
Abrams?
Yep, J.J. Abrams and son.
Mm-hmm. And if you're watching the video, you can see shots, pictures of said volumes or said variants. So cool. yeah, that's a thing that's happening. Next up, so we talked about this already, and now so there was a listing for a Miles Morales Nitoroid that we didn't have too much information on at the time because it was coming off of a Chinese site, which I guess if I had looked into it a little bit more, I would have seen this one. And this is from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse version. So apparently it is on pre-sale and it will be out February 2020. And as you can see from the picture, it is, like I said, basically there's basically two versions of this. So you get the the jacket and the hoodie version, and then you get like regular. Well, you get his Into the Spider-Verse version of his suit, and of course you get a Miles head and a couple other things, and it's posable and stuff, so it's cute. And you can see pictures of him, in various stances that you can pose with this thing. So I think I showed this to somebody on Twitter. I was like, I want this. So, and I kind of want it myself. So I don't know. It'll probably be at Target or somewhere because I think these Nitoroids end up there at some point. No word on U.S. pricing because this page is from Japanese, or the English version of a Japanese company. So next up.
Alrighty. CB Cebulski has hopes and plans for both new John Byrne and Neil Gaiman comics at Marvel. So just as Joe Quesada did when he first became editor-in-chief of Marvel, Cebulski has some big plans and trying to revive certain relationships that Marvel has let go astray. In Quesada's case, it was reviving JLA Avengers and a number of other things. This is Cebulski trying to get John Byrne and Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham on some new Marvel work.
Matter of fact, if you wouldn't mind, take the next one.
Marvel EIC has also hinted at very cool future for both Starjammers and the Imperial Guard. So, speaking of X-Men space stuff, that we mentioned earlier, we're talking about real deep space stuff now. So apparently, according to CB Cebulski, the X-Men are going to be forming a beachhead on the cosmic side of things as well, which may mean big things for the Starjammers and the Shi'ar Imperial Guard.
Which brings back a really quick something that we alluded to earlier. Like, is the X-Men stuff affecting? I think I asked that actually. Is it affecting the rest of like the 616, or is it just kind of off on its own? And I think that was another question I was going to bring about in Black Panther, because with that stuff, like obviously that he was in his own pocket, because with T'Challa doing a whole lot of stuff, including being in Asgard for Thor's party,
right?
This is like, when does this have time to happen? When does this happen? When? But again, we may never get that question answered. Anyway, Marvel's incoming comic event sets the table for 2020. So I guess that's going to be the next big event for next year.
Incoming.
I guess. Wait, has it been 16 months? I guess it has, because I can't. Oh wait, I mean, no, because we just had War of the Realms. So they're clearly not sticking to. Let me not say that. Never mind. it is questionable whether they're considering if they're sticking to that whole. No, we're not going to do an every other month thing for line-wide stuff again. Anyway, so you can see here a teaser image of. At first, I thought this was Hulkling with the ebony blade.
Not the ebony blade, but I think it is Hulkling with a sword from.
It's the sword that he has on him,
right?
Yeah.
That run New Avengers,
right? And he has it now because in Death Head, I believe it's shows up. So yeah, but yeah, that's what it looks like. But according to to other people who not in speculation mode, according to this, it says the visual shows an unknown figure wielding a sword, He-Man style, ominous looking eyes in the background, and the tag "One will unite them." And that could give credence to
that's Hulkling.
Yes, exactly. Given his current station,
he's scrawling Kree. So,
so which is still weird to me. but they've been kind of toying around that. And it says here, a preview will be found in the exclusive edition of the 96-page Marvel Comics 1000. So I don't know if it was in that copy you have.
I got to look. I'll take a look while I'm looking at another story. So next up, just very quickly, Marvel has teased a secret Scotty Young project.
Pins for everybody.
Exactly.
Actually, that's not it. But that's the first thing I thought about when I saw this. So yeah, there's apparently a site up on the Marvel site. There's talking about the secret Scotty. It's called the Secret Scotty Project page. Greets visitors with Young's version of Marvel's many heroes who surround the following announcement. This fall, Marvel will be launching a new exclusive product featuring Scotty Young's amazing illustrations. Sign up and be the first to learn about the secret project. Normally, if they do it like that, this can't be a book. Or it's less likely to be a book, but that's not necessarily... I feel like this is more merch, if anything. But there's no speculation at all. We don't, so... Like I said, this says it could be anything from a new book to a line of merchandise. I'm leaning more towards merchandise than a book because I have never yet to have seen them go this far for a book. So maybe it's a video game. We don't know. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Original Marvel Comics number 1000 essay replaced mischaracterized by press, says Mark Waid. So yeah, apparently Mark Waid did an essay in that Marvel 1000 book, and some saying it got replaced for some reason, and others are saying other thing. I guess according to Waid, he says, "Oh yes, so it's been mischaracterized by press," which I think kind of may or may not allude to something I said earlier.
Right. It was. I think it was. Implied that Ike had something to do with it. Ike Perlmutter. But I'm flipping through my copy and I'm like, where is this preview thing that they're talking about?
Well, it said deluxe edition, so that may not be the issue that you have, and they have another version of Marvel 1000, which that sounds probably likely to come out.
Oh, it might be the hardcover with both issues and with 1000, 1001 maybe.
Right. Possibly. That didn't. I don't think it even said that much. But according to Mark Waid on this, the only comment I'll offer is that the abridged version that's being circulated by news outlets severely miscategorizes what was actually written. So apparently it says, the written story here being that Marvel Comics has replaced an essay that appeared in the advanced copies of Marvel Comics 1000 with a revised version for final publication. According to the Hollywood Reporter, advanced copies sent to retailers in July reported that blah, 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 just what I just said. And then it just kind of goes on with what was said in the Hollywood Reporter.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if this qualifies as an essay, but he does a one-page thing with John Cassidy art.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this page, and it's really nice looking.
Hang on, let me put the focus on you. There you go.
Right, it's really nice looking.
Right,
so that might be what it is. There might be a revision to that text that's underneath Cap.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think if that's the story that people were kind of been writing about, that there's something. I don't know.
Yeah, I got the collage cover, by the way.
Oh wait, put that back up.
I got the collage cover for Marvel Comics 1000.
There we go, right there. Oh yeah, the one that had the art that had gotten
right. That's actually not Marvel art.
Right. That they went ahead and replaced.
It's still there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's still there.
Huh. Oh right, because I think they said they were going to, replace the later copies or something. But I guess that may be that other copy that the version they're talking about.
Actually, no, they did replace it. My bad.
Oh, okay.
My bad, because it's North Star.
Okay, yeah.
They changed it to North Star.
Sure. Which, yeah, makes sense. Anyway, moving right along.
All right. Next up, is it my turn?
Yeah.
I think it is. Marvel teams up with Sirius XM and Pandora for Marvel's 80th. The Road to Marvel Comics 1000 limited time station. Okay. So this was announced during a Saturday panel at D23.
It started yesterday.
To launch a new exclusive limited time channel, Marvel's 80th. So I don't subscribe to Sirius XM, but we can use Pandora for free, I think.
Well, yeah, if it's on, yeah, more likely if it's in associated with Pandora, it's probably going to be on there, I would assume. Yeah, it says Thursday, August 29th, which is basically the day of this recording. Just one day after Marvel Comics 1000 hits the stores on Pandora, Sirius XM, and Sirius On Demand. So yeah, it should be out there on Pandora on its own little thing. So you don't have to worry about having to deal with Sirius. Are you serious?
No.
Anyway, so yeah, if you're so inclined, go check that out. Not entirely sure what that's going to entail, but it's out there. You can find out. Next up, let's see. Here we go. Disneyland Avengers Campus theme park unveiled at D23. Here's everything we know. So yeah, the Avengers Campus. I'm shocked they didn't go with Compound, but I guess there's a reason why that makes sense. And actually, Avengers Campus just reminds me of that mobile game that they had out. But regardless, so yeah, this basically goes in what they know about what's all going to be at that place, in that land. So, which I won't go too much into.
All right.
I would really like to go to see that Star Wars thing, because I keep seeing more about it. I'm like, I want to go there and do some of that. Sure. Anyway, next up,
Hondo Onaka Funko Pop figure coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios on August 29th. So
I love Hondo. I like Hondo.
This is the Star Wars character that was originally introduced in Clone Wars.
Correct.
And reappeared in Rebels.
Correct.
And Hondo is all out for himself.
Pretty much. He's a lovable scoundrel. Yes. Yeah, I don't think he did. Don't think he showed up in the other thing, but I don't know. Hasbro reveals new Transformers Generations and Studio Series at Fan Expo Canada. Now you were saying to yourself, "Hey, y'all already did this." Yes and no. These are different ones. So we have more figures. This is, if you're watching the video, here's one called Nightbird. Never heard of this one. Looks like a Decepticon, special coloring. Yeah, I know, right? Let's see. Nightbird stands at 5.5 inches in robot mode and converts to alt modes in 15 steps. I love how they put the steps on the transformations now. We never had that when we were little. Didn't really care. We just got it done. And it comes with weapons. So, and if you're watching the video, you can check that out. And there's also another one called Scavenger. It says it's a Constructicon. So I don't know if this is that one. Oh yeah, Scavenger. Duh. But yeah, and then there is another one who looks like he's more in the movies than not. So this is Scavenger, and then this is Shockwave. And hey, you remember the little man in the parachute? I don't know who that is, but apparently he's got one in there. That's weird. Anyway, there is that. New figures, Transformers. Mom, give me money. I'm slightly happy you got this one, but
the reason why I was on mute is because I was searching for a clip to go with this, a very brief clip that would fit what I wanted to say about the story. But the next story is about Hasbro Toy Company, not owned by Disney. Because we're so used to Disney being like the corporate overlord, and
yeah, Hasbro owns a lot of stuff now. Don't get it twisted.
Sweeping up lots of different IPs. So Hasbro does own lots of famous kid toys like Mr. Potato Head, Power Rangers, Rom's
Mhm.
Space Knight, which I was
Mhm.
talking about trying to get back to Marvel, but now
G.I. Joe and all
G.I.
that.
Joe,
Yeah,
Transformers.
Transformers. Yeah.
So now Hasbro has purchased Entertainment One, a multimedia company which previously owned the rights to the label that Suge Knight built that helped push the careers of world famous artists like Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre.
Death Row is the label that pays me.
Right, exactly. And I was literally just trying to pull up the Death Row versus Bad Boy at the Source Awards
Oh
and
Jesus!
talk about and talk and play something about something that Suge said about not having producers that's all up in the videos.
Mhm.
And,
Oh man, that's the part we didn't. So shout out to I would dare say friend of the show, the Von Gloom on Twitter, because when the day this came out, me and him was having a little back and forth on the implications of this. Because at first I had seen this a couple of days prior to this, because it was reported on the 24th. I had seen something from somebody.
no, this is Suge. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. So I saw something about this from somebody I follow on the 22nd. I'm like, that can't be real. And then turns out it got reported a couple of days later, and the Von Gloom and I was basically, and the Bad Boy, the East Coast West Coast beef got brought up during that, to a little bit of fun, and even gave it the hashtag Hasbro.
Oh no.
I mean, it paid to fit, so.
That's
I'm proud of that one. I'm proud of it. I will go ahead and say it. I'm proud of it. Yes. It didn't take off, but I'm proud of it. So yeah, so Death Row Records is being owned by Hasbro. Wrap your head around that one.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it could be nothing. It could be, I don't know. Maybe we'll see Death Row and J. Joe. We don't know. I mean, it's speculation. And I also said, and I admit I should have tagged him on this one, but I wish that the Cold Slither podcast was still around, because I know Classic and Eclectic specifically, and Tim would have had some fun with this. So,
man.
but yeah, but I didn't tag any of them on this.
That's too funny.
Yeah. Anyway, moving right along.
Next up.
Excuse me. Snyder and Tinian IV dish out Justice Doom War and that massive return. So we talked about the issue, but I don't think we talked about what happened, or that specifically what happened. But since we kind of talked about Justice League 38 earlier, we can push off. And plus the fact that I hadn't read it yet. So
sure. All right, next up, Nightwing gets his own even deadlier Joker. So,
spoiler alert, it's Talon from the Court of Owls.
Is it really?
It is. Yes.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah. Or at least that's what this article was alluding to. I didn't really finish the whole thing, and I'm not reading Nightwing, but that's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. And Grayson is still his recreation thing, so I guess they hadn't put him completely back together again.
Nope.
But he's got his memories back now, so that's only a matter of time. Next up, longtime DC staffer and sad news, Tom Pattinson dies at age 64.
You know you want Robert Pattinson, but okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's similar, but I almost said Patapon also, but that's a whole other thing. So does it say he joined DC in August 1984 as staff accounting, coming in with a master's degree in accounting, took over supervision of royalties, and ultimately became the company's royalties and participations manager. Man, that's the title.
Okay.
1996, a position he held until his retirement in 2011. So he wasn't with the company at the time of his passing. He is survived by his wife Geraldine and 2 sons. So,
okay.
And they've already had the funeral service a couple of days ago, as of this recording. So,
sorry to hear that.
Exactly.
All right. Next up, Mark Guggenheim, who is the executive producer for the Arrow TV show,
Hmm.
is working on a secret DC comic book. Guggenheim is no stranger to comics. He has previously done lots of X-Men work. So,
Right.
it's no surprise that he's working on a secret project for a comic company, and it's not a big surprise that it would be DC since he's working with their TV side.
Well, it kind of is, but now that I'm thinking about it, I believe he has done some. I believe he was writing at least one of the, not necessarily TV versions, but yeah, the one of the TV versions of the comic. So basically, a series that was kind of parallel to the the Arrow TV verse series, and I think it was Arrow. If I'm not mistaken, it was one of them, I believe. But I was originally thought it was like he hadn't, outside of that, he hadn't done any comics for DC, but he totally has, and it's now coming back to me. So, and apparently, yeah, he previously wrote for DC, including The Flash, which he wrote the death of Bart Allen. So yeah, I totally forgot about that part. It's just weird to me that he's like that, because usually I associated him writing comics with the X-Men stuff, because apparently he really likes those kids. And that sounds bad saying it like that, but I think a lot of his run kind of had the kids in them.
Yeah, this isn't R. Kelly, so
right. So that yeah. Anyway, moving right along.
You're up next.
Batman calls out George Clooney in new DC comic. He owes me. I don't believe that is the name of the comic. So this is from Detective 209, which 1010 is the one that came out this week. So this was last issue. And I guess there's a reference that Bruce Wayne makes. Oh, yeah, I have seen this, actually. I don't know. I thought I might have put this in there last time, but maybe I didn't. So, yeah, there's a panel where Bruce Wayne's talking to somebody, and he mentions George Clooney, saying that he owes him. So, yeah, haha, yay. Anyway.
Next up, we get a first look at Jim Lee's Supergirl pages from Legion of Superheroes Millennium. This is not the Will Smith album.
No, not the Millennium. Definitely not. So, yeah, we get to looks like to be an older Bob wearing Supergirl. That cut looks like her Power Girl haircut, kind of.
Right.
And she just looks older. And yeah, if you're watching the video, you can see pages. They look good, actually. So, cool. I no affinity or probably interest in Legion of Superheroes, and I know Bendis is also writing, which is probably doubly lessens my enthusiasm. Not enthusiasm, but interest.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Legion of Superheroes, Legion of Superheroes new Timberwolf, influenced by a specific Wolverine. And yes, not the actual animal, but the first one you will be thinking about in this day and time. And if you're watching the video, you can see the picture in question. And yeah, hey, they crib from each other all the time. This is not that big of a surprise, as we will see, as we will get to in a couple of stories. Next up,
okay. Mike Mignola and Adam Hughes are reuniting for an all-new Hellboy story. So good for the Hellboy fans.
Reunited, and it feels so. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's called the Seven Wise Club, and I guess it's a new story, and sure, more Hellboy for those fans, like you said. Next up, George Lucas's museum hiring a comic art curator, which if that is the actual museum and not a concept art piece because it hasn't been built yet, he is totally like, that thing looks like it's going to take off like an first the third what am I thinking about? Lord,
I don't know. All I wanted to say was,
yeah, basically.
Hey, you got to move out to Frisco, but hey.
Yeah, no, they're not doing that. Thor here is lovely out there, but anyway, yeah, the place looks like a big spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
that could take off. And I'm thinking of a Spielberg movie, and I know why I'm blanking on this, and this is terrible. Anywho, moving right along. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so yeah, and it's definitely it's Lucas Museum of Narrative Art retiring comic art creator ahead of its 2021 launch. So it's not finished yet. But when it does, have at it, y'all. Next up.
Cool. As we're wrapping up, a year of free comics. Valley Ghouls is a spooky slice of afterlife. So that is a new comic by Kate Leff, and I'm not sure who's publishing this. But be on the lookout.
I'm Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That's the movie I was thinking of.
Okay.
That was gonna kill me. I thought this was a web comic, and it could very well still be, but I don't know, maybe not. So Kate Leff, I know a lot of people know her, love her. So, this looks like this is basically, as it says, day to life in the scariest land of all, Southern California, but not exactly a 1-to-1, with cute little animals.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Cool. Next up. Hey, guess what, folks? Yesterday being the 28th.
Right, we missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Was Jack Kirby's birthday.
That part we didn't miss, but the part of the story we missed.
Well, yeah, that is true. So yeah, and with that, Jack Kirby walking tour of New York City planned for his 102nd birthday. So yeah, like I said, on the 28th, which is already passed, and organized by the Jack Kirby Museum, there was a free event planned to visit Kirby's birthplace, a street theater reading of Kirby's Street Code, trivia questions, and a mixer at a local restaurant.
Cool.
And it's already passed. I was about to call that Yancey Street, but Delancey Street is close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just east of the corner of, well, it doesn't matter where it is because it's over with at this point. Have you ever been to the Kirby Museum? I'm sure you have. I don't know why I'm asking that question.
The Kirby Museum, no, but I've been to the pop-up that they did at One Art Space,
Okay.
in Tribeca. It's actually downtown Manhattan, but yeah, I obviously know the Lower East Side, so
Sure.
a lot of those locales are very familiar to me.
Gotcha. And last but not least, in relation to King Kirby, this came up on Twitter a couple of days ago, or actually yesterday, rather, at the time of. And that question would be, who would win in a fight, Thanos or Darkseid? And apparently this article is biased as to who that might be. So I saw this, I saw this on Twitter, and I'm sitting here like, okay, sure. I'm surprised that's never come up before. I don't know if you have an opinion on it or not. I kind of don't.
It kind of depends.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on who, like what power levels we're talking about, where we're talking about, so on and so forth.
Well, I would say let us assume they're both full powered.
But that's not fair with Thanos having the gauntlet. So,
yeah, I guess you're right.
I think regularly powered, I think Darkseid wins because he's got the Omega effect.
You think? I mean, without the gauntlet, like Thanos is, no slouch,
right?
But I guess he'd be just sitting over in the corner of Omega beaming to death.
Yeah, so,
or it'd be like that one, like the one thing I saw where I think it was Thanos. Yeah, Thanos was fighting the champion,
right?
And he was just going against basically juked him out.
Sure. All right. So that is our last news story. We got one ad, and I do have something for our what I'm going to call the "What's in the Box" segment. So I do have something for that. So our last ad read of the night is for Busted Tees. This episode of the Comic Book Chronicles is sponsored by Busted Tees. Your home for funny, awesome, cool t-shirts that are sure to get your friends' attention. Busted Tees puts many of their popular shirt designs on sale each week. Choose from several eye-catching t-shirts inspired by pop culture. Cleverly themed t-shirts inspired by movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, and geek culture are on sale. To help keep our podcast free, order from Busted Tees by going to cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link. Click on the Busted Tees banner and then shop for awesome t-shirts. Busted Tees through cspn.us. Do it today. And before we wrap, we have our latest installment of a segment that I'm trying to christen.
What's in the box?
I mean, granted, that's been used many times before, but sure.
I know, but at least we have the sound effect. So I ordered this while we were on the show, and I kept getting emails from Walmart saying that it was out of stock. But surprisingly, on Monday, I get an email saying it's shipped. And what am I referring to? It is the Marvel 80th Anniversary Legends Captain America, based on the Alex Ross designs for Captain America. So it's pretty cool. This is the front of the box. We've got some Alex Ross art on the side, and we've got some Alex Ross art on the back. So I am looking forward to cracking this puppy open and maybe redoing the display that is on the shelf behind me to do some Cap stuff. I've had the FF up there for a while now, so we shall see. But
including the two Biggie Pops I see behind you.
Yes, the two Biggie Pops are up there as well. So,
I was gonna say you didn't buy two, one to kind of keep in one to kind of keep in plastic. You're not one of those.
I'm not one. I'm not a collector like that. Like, I open up my stuff. So,
fair enough.
And there have been some nice boxes that I really felt bad opening, like the Thor San Diego Comic-Con set that Matt Wang 97 got for me, where like it was like a folding it was like a folding circular box. It was awesome.
The A4's box is kind of like that. Although, to be fair, I haven't opened that yet, and that's only because I don't have space to put them out even if I did. So,
all right.
But that being the case,
let's wrap up this puppy.
Are at the end of this show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, each and every one of you, always and forever, for coming out. Excuse me, man. Do not drink tea, even though it's supposed to be good for your throat. Doesn't work all that well.
Honey, gotta add.
Well, I know we're out of honey, but that's beside the point. We will be back next week because there is really no reason not to be. Lord willing, as they say. For myself, Roddykat on Twitter at Roddykat. News Nurse Needle at on Twitter. One site coming soon, hopefully. CB Caps on Instagram, and that's it. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram. PC_dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and the umbrella sites on therein. TMDOGG98, the Osiris that is on Twitter. The Click Nation, that's DKLIQNATION, and theclicknation.com. Give me another one. And of course, Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. Because, got to get a man his props. Finding all this stuff. I really want to do I will talk off thing, but put this out in the ether. Coastal of the Podcast Reunion. It's been time. Just saying, fellas. One more for the road. CSPN.us. That's the label that pays.
Oh God.
I'm gonna get that one right and I just wanted to get somebody doing that in Snoop's voice. It might not be me. But anyway, CSPN.us. Do it today. You'll be joining us soon. All that kind of good mess. Go there, get all of our stuff and other podcasts of the likes. Tell them to promote us a little bit more, maybe. Subscribe to this podcast on Google Play and Apple iTunes, SoundCloud, on the Coastal of the Podcast page therein, and of course, Spotify. And we will be back next week, same bet time, same bet channel, with another show. Jeez Louise. This has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.